Chen is a regressor, returned from a future where demons conquered the world. As the last survivor, he fought for years until finally taking down the Demon King with a suicidal explosion. But after a blinding flash, he wakes up in his old college dorm room. Confused, he wonders if this is the afterlife. Looking out the window, he spots normal people standing below. Can you even imagine that? Knowing his insane wish to go back in time actually came true. He has traveled 10 years back to his college days. Right then, a glowing hologram appears, telling Chen that the power of gluttony has fully integrated. Staring out, he realizes he only has 3 years before the first demon lord, Wrath, descends. He vividly remembers that this exact monster was responsible for the entire world ending. Wrath was the beast who ripped open the gates of hell, letting the other demon lords invade one by one. Chen makes up his mind he must track down where Wrath will appear and kill him before those gates open. Chen snaps out of his thoughts. Focusing on the floating screen nearby, it clearly displays his stats. He wonders if this is some cheat system, since he never had a game menu in his past life. Back then, he only had his awakened powers, a rare gift that barely anyone possessed. The National Awakener University was built to recruit these rare geniuses. Sadly, when Chen was here the first time, he completely failed to awaken and became a punching bag, which explains why he just woke up in this clinic. Suddenly, the system flashes open a panel, revealing a lightning assassin card. It is his exact class from his past life. Shocked, he wonders if he awakened way earlier this time. He eagerly gets ready to test his power, but before he can, his roommate Ma Long suddenly bursts in. Ma Long is just a weak E-rank flower chanter, who came over with bandages on his face to make sure Chen is doing okay. Luckily, Ma Long cannot see these menus, meaning only Chen can see them. Ma Long stares closely, noticing that all of Chen's injuries are completely gone. He wonders how a non-awakener is healing faster than someone who actually awakened. Chen remembers Ma Long from his past life. The guy actually managed to awaken during college, but he ended up as a bottom-tier fighter, only to be brutally murdered 3 days after Wrath arrived. Chen smiles quietly, looking at his old roommate, alive and well. Ma Long then reminds him that their combat rank test is tomorrow and they must prepare. Ma Long feels bad, assuming Chen still hasn't awakened, but warns him that this test is their only shot at graduating. As they walk through the bustling streets, Chen casually remarks how long it has been since he saw so many living people, which completely terrifies Ma Long. He must act. If he does nothing, everyone in this world will face that same horrific, bloody ending. So he decides to train like a maniac to level up. But get this, there is a massive problem. At this exact moment in history, the only possible way for any awakener to secure experience points and level up is by slaying monsters inside dangerous devil caves. These exact zones are completely locked down by major guilds, meaning weak outsiders like him have absolutely zero chance of farming. He opens his blue system interface to study his stats, wondering how his current power measures up against other local awakeners. The government ranks these awakeners from a low E grade all the way up to an elite S class. Chen knows that almost every student at this university is stuck at E rank, with only a rare few reaching D rank. He glances over at Ma Long and quietly chuckles to himself, confident that his secret power ranks far higher than his roommates. Suddenly, a ball flies out of nowhere and slams directly into the poor guy, shattering his glasses onto the pavement. Turns out, they just crossed paths with the arrogant bully Gong Chong and his lapdog, the very same guys who thrashed them yesterday. Gong Chong smirks and asks why he did not buy them crates of drinks, since he knew they were training here. Ma Long frantically apologizes, offering to buy the drinks using his own cash. But Chen grabs his shoulder, stating flatly that the one who needs to apologize is actually Gong Chong. Seeing that tyrant's arrogant face instantly drags Chen right back into his most agonizing memories, back when these bastards tried to drown him in a cold bathroom sink. They actually claimed they were just trying to help him awaken. That day, they only backed off when Chen lost consciousness. Ma Long had rushed over to help, but the second Gong Chong heard the victim speak up, he returned to torture him further. Time for payback. Chen is finally going to teach these lowlifes a proper lesson. Hearing him talk back, Gong Chong and his lackey take a step forward, completely ready to put him in his place. Chen stares right at Chung. He knows this bully only preys on the weak because his older brother runs the student council. As the thug steps closer, a massive crowd gathers. Everyone already feels sorry for Chen, expecting another brutal beatdown. Once Chung gets in his face, he demands to know what Chen just said. Chen doesn't flinch. He calmly repeats his warning. Absolutely furious, Chung completely snaps and throws a heavy punch straight at his face. But this time, Chen simply raises one hand, blocking the strike effortlessly before shoving the bully backward. The onlookers are utterly shocked. As far as they know, Chen hasn't even awakened yet, but he just shrugged off that blow. Fuming with pure rage, Chung charges in again. Chen calmly braces himself, instantly switching his active class to Lightning Assassin. Long stands right nearby, totally speechless. Chung quickly activates his indestructible demon armor and lunges forward with everything he's got. But before he can even land it, Chen blurs forward, blasting him back with a lightning-infused punch. You've gotta love this. Our supposed weakling just sent the school bully flying with one single punch. Even after eating that devastating hit, Chung refuses to stay down, screaming at his lackeys to jump in and get revenge. But his terrified henchmen are already shaking, completely paralyzed after witnessing what Chen just did. Chung drags himself back up and lunges at Chen once more, only to get instantly thrashed and sent sliding across the floor. Seeing their boss get absolutely demolished, the lackeys realize they are totally outmatched and quickly bolt. Long just watches. His brain is completely short-circuiting. His jaw hits the floor. He simply cannot comprehend how his roommate, who was a punching bag yesterday, is suddenly this overpowered. Meanwhile, Chen realizes that just like in his previous life, he can activate his deadly assassin state whenever he pleases. Even at level 1, his baseline stats are high enough to crush these low-tier awakeners, placing him around D-class minimum. But there is still one major mystery. Despite crushing a foe, his system hasn't granted a level up. Now, he's curious. Chen steps forward to finish Chung off, sending a wave of panic through the crowd. At the very last second, the Student Council Vice President Ling Yu suddenly steps in and orders Chen to stop. She firmly points out that even though Chung started this, the guy has definitely learned his lesson by now. With her promising that this thug won't bother him again, Chen decides it is best to finally let him slide. Walking away, Chen can't help but wonder why the elite student council is so eager to protect a piece of trash like Chung. Even though he was only bluffing and didn't actually plan to end the bully's life, he knows scum like Chung need a harsh lesson, or they will just keep preying on the weak. With that, Chen walks off with his roommate. Cowering in the shadows, Chung's terrified lackeys whisper that they must never, ever mess with Chen again. Later that night, Long frantically explains how Chen awakened as an insanely strong lightning assassin, but the others just completely laugh it off. He keeps swearing that their quiet roommate absolutely destroyed Chung, but Xiang Zuo, an E-rank nucleus mage, thinks it's a complete joke. Xiang Zuo asks why Chen would still be running crazy physical drills if he had actually become some legendary powerhouse. He scoffs that a true awakened warrior would never need to rely on basic cardio and push-ups. Chiming in, their gamer roommate, Shang Yu, teases that it honestly sounds like Long must have taken a serious knock to the skull. Shang Zuo adds that the four of them are grouped here because they are the absolute bottom feeders of the academy, and nothing will ever change that. He even proudly declares himself the strongest in their dorm, labeling Long and Shang Yu as nothing but useless support chanters. Flexing a bit, he tells himself there is absolutely no way a loser like Chen could ever become a lightning assassin. Feeling more confident than ever, he highly hopes that he might even rank up during their final graduation test tomorrow. Deep inside an E-rank demon lair, the student council president, Gong Ting, wraps up his training and exits with Ling Yu. Noticing his younger brother waiting outside, Gong Ting asks what's wrong. Chung bitterly complains that as long as Chen is breathing, he can't even sleep at night. He frantically begs his powerful older brother to get brutal revenge for him. Gong Ting calmly promises to clean up his brother's mess. Later, sitting at the dining table, the vice president asks Gong Ting how he plans to deal with this. Gong Ting simply asks her if this new kid is genuinely as powerful as his brother claims. Ling Yu reminds Gong Ting that there are fewer than 10 D-ranked students in school, and he has already recruited every single one of them. She points out that regular students don't even have access to high-tier demon lairs like he does, meaning no normal kid should stand a chance against him. Meanwhile, outside, Chen keeps running through the pouring rain like a madman. Chen sets a brutal target running 20 kilometers straight while carrying a 100-kilo weight on his back. He knows that basic training is the secret to raising an awakener's raw limits. You simply need a pretty tough body to handle high-level power. As he runs, memories of his sister, his only family, start rushing back. She was brutally killed when the Demon King Wrath invaded the human world. The beast slaughtered thousands in a heartbeat, and she died right before his eyes. Crushing this Demon King became his absolute life goal, because that horrific moment was the start of everything. Chen knows the Demon Lord is already out there growing stronger, even with 3 whole years before his arrival. To have any real shot at survival, Chen has to level up pretty damn fast. Wait, you won't believe who's on the line, his sister Son. Hearing her voice after all this time completely freezes him. She quickly explains she couldn't call sooner because she was totally caught up in a major competition. If she wins first place, their crushing rent problems are basically solved. As she happily babbles on, Chen just quietly listens and smiles. Right then, he makes a silent vow to protect her and build the perfect life she deserves this time. Hanging up, he dives right back into training, crushing 3 more laps around campus before heading straight to the showers. He can feel himself slowly getting comfortable in this younger body, sensing its pretty insane growth potential. Sitting down, his mind drifts to those exclusive demon lairs that only wealthy elites can access. To grow strong, he needs a way to hunt monsters. As he weighs his options, he drifts off to sleep, only to be yanked directly into the Gluttony System. Looking around this bizarre world, he wonders if he is dreaming. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Long is searching everywhere and wondering where Chen vanished. Deep inside that bizarre void, a towering dark structure looms right in front of Chen. But before he can even study it, a pack of E-rank monsters called Death Hounds rushes out to attack. Worried he somehow stumbled right into an active demon lair, Chen quickly swaps his class. With beasts suddenly ambushing him, he decides to clear them out first and ask questions later. He easily slaughters the weak hounds and harvests their loot. Hitting level 2 in seconds, he grins, realizing this random demon lair might actually be a massive stroke of luck. A massive boss monster spawns next, but Chen cuts it down without breaking a sweat. He slices straight through the beast, instantly forcing another level up. The massive experience payout easily puts those weak mobs to shame. Suddenly, a glowing devour prompt pops up over the corpse, leaving Chen pretty confused. Recalling that gluttony skill from his interface, he reaches out a hand to see what it does. Now, this is absolutely insane. The beast turns into a card, meaning he can literally copy defeated monster classes for himself. This is the exact same terrifying power the Demon Lord Lan Yu used to wield. Just realizing he possesses a literal Demon Lord's power leaves him seriously shaken. Normally, awakeners are locked into one class, maybe two if they are lucky. But Chen? He can collect as many as he wants. He wonders what triggered this absurd power, and what secrets lie inside the towering dark shadow ahead. Suddenly, a crushing aura fills the air as a terrifying demon brandishing twin S-rank blades steps out. Chen is heavily outclassed, with almost zero chance of survival. Knowing he stands absolutely no chance, Chen still summons a crackling lightning sword to gamble his life on a fight. Strangely, the terrifying beast standing before him somehow knows his name. The demon effortlessly trades blows with Chen, but it is pretty obvious the monster is just playing around. Avoiding vital spots on purpose, it casually bats him around like a ragdoll. After beating Chen to the brink, the monster finally speaks. It offers to spare him if he agrees to help guard the tower, but when Chen refuses, it violently gashes his arm. The beast threatens to end him right here, explaining that it only went easy on him because Chen is the only human capable of reaching this sanctuary. It demands he reconsider, but even on the verge of death, Chen refuses to lose hope. Spitting on the offer, he ignores the mortal danger, roars, and launches a desperate counterattack straight at the monster. Throughout this beatdown, Chen has been closely studying its moves, spotting a 0.4-second delay before every single strike. If he reads the subtle angle of the beast's wrist, that tiny split-second window is all he needs to dodge. On top of that, there is a 0.2-second recovery gap where the monster is completely wide open. He aims to exploit that fleeting pause to strike the heart. But deep down, he knows a D rank stands zero chance against an S rank. His true play is simply paralyzing the monster just long enough to escape with his life. He follows the advice and sprints toward the lone glowing speck in the dark, praying it leads outside. But the moment he reaches it, the light completely disappears. The demon mockingly reveals it was nothing but a cruel illusion, explaining there is absolutely no escape from this realm. It explains that this grand palace is not actually a demonic lair. Still, the creature commends Chen for exposing the weaknesses in its moves so incredibly fast. The beast finally reveals its true identity as the Purgatory Rakshasa, admitting to Chen that he might truly be the savior they desperately need. But when Chen gets a better look at the monster, his heart suddenly drops. He recognizes this terrifying appearance from his past life, specifically from Demon King Lan Yu. Images of their final battle before his regression flash through his mind. That deadly foe was far from normal. As they clashed, the monstrous ruler initially shifted into a massive, fire-breathing dragon. After that, it repeatedly morphed into high-tier beasts, unleashing scorching lava, venomous roots, and currents of electricity far more destructive than Chen's own powers. Yet, among all those terrifying shapes, the one form that burned itself into his memory looks identical to this creature standing before him. Talk about a massive realization. All of those past beasts were actually forms under Demon King Lan Yu's control. And since Chen absorbed that gluttony skill, this giant beast before him is literally a manifestation of his own stolen power. His sharp deduction deeply impresses the massive beast, who quietly confirms he is indeed worthy to inherit this entire realm's power. Chen only grimaces, deeply puzzled by the mention of a whole dimension. Suddenly, a shimmering golden void key manifests in the demon's palm, serving as the sole gateway to the massive spire towering behind them. The beast explains that Demon King Lan Yu devoured countless high-tier monsters during his reign. The Purgatory Rakshasa's ultimate duty was protecting this prison, keeping those deadly beasts sealed. But right now, it chooses to hand the key over to Chen. It urges Chen to devour those trapped entities, scale his own power, and assume its sacred duty. Baffled, Chen asks why a demon would ever assist a mere mortal. The entity responds that even among its kind, there are those with honor and those who are pure evil. A specific, wicked tyrant slaughtered its entire bloodline simply for amusement, forcing the Guardian to wait centuries for a proper chance to extract bloody revenge. Now, it believes it has finally discovered the perfect candidate to fulfill that vow. It tells our protagonist that a certain someone was right about him being their ultimate hope. Chen instantly demands to know who that is. The Guardian merely states that the answers lie deep within the tower, sounding like an ancient prophet. With its dying breath, the creature prepares to transfer its remaining life force directly to him. As a final condition, the Guardian dictates that Chen must ascend to become the strongest survivor on Earth. Devouring every single ferocious entity sealed within the tower is no simple feat, especially since each highly intelligent monster presents a uniquely lethal challenge. It issues a final warning, declaring that only a hunter with an insatiable hunger for raw strength deserves to inherit the Purgatory Rakshasa's legacy. That absolute hunger is the fuel required to wipe out every single demon monarch alive. With those parting words, the colossal entity dissolves into a blazing sphere of pure essence, ready for Chen to claim. Chen instantly gains 8 levels and inherits dual blades from the Rakshasa. Unhesitatingly, he accepts the heavy burden, swearing to honor the Guardian's dying request. Alongside the massive stat increase, he unlocks the incredible ability to manipulate gravity and harvest power from fallen humans and demons alike. When morning comes, Chen slowly blinks his eyes open, finding himself resting inside his academy dorm room like any ordinary day. He suddenly jolts upright as a loud, booming voice begins echoing through his room. His roommates are already dressed, yelling at him to get moving if he expects to make it to class on time. Feeling his body entirely healed, Chen seriously wonders if that whole terrifying ordeal was just a vivid nightmare. But wait, those newly updated stats prove to us that it was indeed real. After leaping from level 2 to level 10 overnight, he wonders what kind of combat rank he possesses now. His roommate immediately starts teasing him, bringing up how another guy was bragging so shamelessly, claiming Chen had become this insanely powerful badass. Malong quietly peeks over from the corner, desperately pretending he had absolutely nothing to do with those rumors. Regardless, his roommate confidently dares him to show off his supposed upgrade during the upcoming evaluation. That exam determines who keeps the title of Dorm King. While walking to school, the self-proclaimed king loudly boasts to his friends that each rank is split into 3 distinct tiers. So, even though they are technically all E ranks, he proudly claims to be a mid-tier, placing him far above the absolute bottom dwellers. He struts around, acting superior because the power gap between sub-ranks is allegedly massive. Overflowing with unearned confidence, the noisy roommate declares he feels powerful enough to have scaled up a full level since their previous evaluation. Completely irritated, Malong tells Chen to stop fooling around and fight seriously to secure a D rank today. With any luck, that might finally shut the loudmouth Dorm King up. The crew reaches campus, where crowds of anxious students are assembled for the test. Suddenly, the school bullies parade in, throwing insults at anyone brave enough to lock eyes. The instant the self-proclaimed Dorm King spots them, his arrogant smirk instantly vanishes. Suddenly, the bullies lose all their confidence. They immediately start bowing and showing respect to Big Brother Chen without hesitation. His roommates slowly begin to realize that maybe everything Malong said was not complete nonsense after all. Our boy completely ignores the punks and keeps moving. But then, another student boldly steps right in front of him. It is Jian, a student council officer who acts like the school police, and he gives Chen a pretty polite warning. The student council president personally sent him here to punish the guy who dared to lay a hand on his precious brother. All of Chen's friends immediately scatter and hide in fear. They are absolutely terrified of Jian, the president's brutal enforcer. His roommates just cannot figure out why this D-rank monster is targeting Chen like this. Stepping right into Chen's personal space, the president's loyal dog brags that his sharp nose lets him sniff out exactly how strong a person is. And right now, all he smells on our hero is a weak, pathetic loser. Faced with the insult, our boy fires back immediately. Shane completely loses his mind the moment he gets called a loyal dog. Before a fight can actually break out, the overgrown pup's master steps in, ordering him to stand down and avoid a public scene. After doing a little digging, he found out that his own brother was actually the one who started the fight. Getting beaten up was simply the price of picking a fight with someone who was way out of his league. The president shoots him a glare sharper than daggers, but look at that, our hero isn't intimidated in the slightest. Just then, a professor announces that the official rank assessment ceremony is finally about to begin. He instructs all students to step forward as their names are called. Hearing this, the president tells his lapdog they are leaving. Assuming this was just a one-time incident, he thinks Chen won't cause any more trouble after his warning. Watching from high above, an instructor curiously asks the vice president why she is personally attending the ranking ceremony today. He wonders if a certain rookie caught her eye. The lady just smiles, saying this year is going to be quite interesting. Soon, Shanghai's name is called out. The dorm king actually feels a little nervous as he steps through the door. The entire atmosphere completely shifts on the other side. Each student gets assessed one by one inside a special demon lair. In there, a gross demon heart connected to wires measures an awakener's rank and potential by absorbing their raw energy. Once the awakener unleashes their full power, the signal beams back to Earth, displaying their official assessment results. No change. The dorm king's final rank is exactly the same as his previous one. But the professor looks pretty confused when his potential score takes way longer than expected to load. Malong stares intently at the shifting numbers. After building up all that suspense, Shanghai's maximum potential is shown to be only a C. He walks out looking pretty sad. He realizes that all the progress he thought he made was just a complete illusion. His roommates quickly try to comfort him, saying they are all in this together. E- rank. At best, they only have the potential to reach C rank. A few moments later, the president's annoying lapdog struts out proudly. He is still a lower D rank, but his potential can reach all the way to A rank. Chen's roommates start losing all hope since they have already watched nearly 10 other students easily reach D rank. Even the professors are shocked that so many students reach D rank. It is super rare for rookies without real combat experience to break past E- rank. Now here comes the big moment. Filled with excitement, they call up the next student, the president who carries everyone's expectations. All eyes instantly turn to Gong Ting, the genius student who is already a legitimate guild master. While walking confidently onto the stage, our boy just stays calm and patiently waits for his own turn. Everyone in the academy knows that Gong Ting was only a lower D rank just 2 years ago. Since the school's historical record for the highest grade is middle D rank, everyone wonders if the president will finally raise the bar. Inside the demon lair, the heart's eyes slowly open to his presence. The president is not quite able to unleash everything he has. Still, he has this burning desire to go out with a massive bang at graduation, carving his name into the school's history books as number 1. The moment the professors see his potential grade glowing gold, they literally blink in absolute disbelief. Sure enough, Gong Ting's high D rank completely blows everyone away. Even wilder, absolute chaos erupts through the crowd at the sight of the first potential S rank in school history. Absolute worship. The president's loyal lackeys praise their boss non-stop. Even Chen's roommates burn with intense jealousy as they watch a literal legend being born right before their eyes. The professors quickly agree among themselves that this insane news must be sent to the administration immediately. It is crucial to treat this precious S-rank candidate with the utmost care, making sure he never leaves the country. On top of that, he is the youngest student in academy history to be involved with the guild. Their academy's name is now officially guaranteed to dominate the global headlines. Watching from high up, Principal Yuan Long realizes Vice President Ling Yu already saw the kid's massive potential. In fact, that is exactly why she showed up in person today. But she quickly drops a pretty massive bombshell. She is not actually here for the flashy president. There is another student she finds way more intriguing. And right on cue, that exact mysterious student gets called up next. Jean gets a pretty dumb idea and starts mocking this urban legend, warning him not to end up as E-rank garbage like his roommates. He tells them they will become a total laughingstock, calling it a massive disgrace to even show up at such a prestigious event. Long quickly backs up his buddy, boldly claiming he will shock the entire crowd. Now check this out. The tension is insane as Chen walks in, making the demon heart feel heavy pressure instantly. Our hero remembers that joining a top-tier guild is the absolute best way to secure a real future, and the only path to that dream is crushing it during the upcoming graduation combat assessment. For this test, candidates have to recruit their own 10-person squad. Whichever team takes first place gets drafted straight into the legendary Imperial Guild. That makes the stakes clear. Jean starts building his team and introduces another low D-rank guy. He boasts their team is completely ready. Since they have all the D ranks and the president's own brother, there is absolutely zero chance they lose first place. Jean knows elite students naturally team up together, leaving the weak to struggle alone. It is a pretty brutal, survival of the fittest world where weaklings get cast aside instantly. A few minutes pass, and Long gets pretty anxious because the screen stays blank. The crowd immediately assumes Chen is too weak to register. Jian scoffingly tells Ting that these leftovers are just absolute garbage, so they should stop wasting time and leave. But just as they turn around, suddenly, the screen flashes a high D-rank rating. Everyone is stunned, and the entire room descends into pure chaos. The student council and the flashy president stare in complete disbelief at the scoreboard. But soon, the system detects a weird shift. Turns out Chen is just testing how his level 10 physical-based stats translate here. Seeing the D rank, and then he activates his weakest devoured class, the Infernal Death King. Instantly, his rating shoots to mid-C rank, completely shocking the crowd. The student council can barely believe the machine is working right. Even the on-site scientists are panicking, wondering why the numbers keep jumping. They start thinking the device is completely broken. Right at that exact second, the demon heart goes unstable and the screen glitches again. Chen quickly notices this, switching over to unleash his Purgatory Ruasa class. The demon heart grows highly anxious as a wild storm starts brewing outside the building. Jian screams in total confusion, calling the storm a sign that history is rewriting itself with their divine monster. Just seconds later, his potential flashes to S rank, leaving Ting and the staff speechless. But the system suddenly displays a warning the user's raw potential exceeds all detectable limits. Jian's brain basically gets a blue screen of death. Honestly, his soul is pretty much leaving his body right now. As the machine begins to break apart under the pressure, scientists rush in to make sure Chen is safe, but they immediately freeze. They find a shriveled raisin where the demon heart was, completely burned out from overuse. Turns out, Chen might have scared it a little. Either way, he devours it, gaining the ability to see ranks and detect nearby dangers. He walks out of the demon lair, pretty amused as everyone's power level floats right before him. But he quickly notices the president's hidden rank is nothing but a mediocre C rank at best. The scientists awkwardly step out, announcing the demon heart literally suffered a heart attack from extreme strain. So, they pause the testing. They label Chen's rating as an error, sending a full report to the higher-ups. Remaining students are told to return tomorrow for their assessment once the new device is ready. On the way back, Chen's roommates go absolutely wild, treating him like a total legend after that massive flex in front of everyone. Meanwhile, Jian is practically eating himself alive with jealousy. He instantly calls Chen a total fake, demanding he pay for the broken test machine and stop wasting the council's precious time. He is acting like a complete sore loser. But just as Chen prepares to obliterate him, Ting steps in and instantly calls Jian out. The president coldly warns Jian not to disrespect their teammate, leaving him completely stunned. Ting then extends his hand, inviting this newly revealed powerhouse to join their squad. He confidently promises that together they will shatter every school record in history. Hearing this, Jian completely panics in the background. He knows someone is getting booted from the roster to make room for Chen, which means major trouble with the other members. After all, joining Ting's elite team basically guarantees a first-place finish. It makes him wonder what makes Chen so damn special, especially when other elites could not even bribe their way onto this squad, no matter how hard they tried. Swallowing his pride, Jian slowly welcomes Chen, placing a hesitant hand on his shoulder. Chen instantly slaps the hand away and flatly replies he has zero interest in joining them. That cold rejection makes Jian break a sweat while Ting just watches in dead silence. Jian snaps, telling Chen he has absolutely no clue what he is turning down, since their team is easily the best in the academy. But Chen just turns around and walks away. He says their offer means nothing to him, calling their elite group way too noisy to deal with. He warns them not to bother him again. Jian boils with rage, and soon, the entire school is gossiping about Chen's insane refusal. Most students assume he plans to snatch the top spot all for himself with his C-rank power. Seriously, who does not love watching some chaotic school drama unfold like this? Chen's roommates are absolutely loving the humiliated looks on Jian and Ting's faces after such a brutal public rejection. The president stays completely calm, telling Jian not to worry about Chen's plans. Watching this, the principal sighs in deep disappointment. He really hoped the boys would join forces and work together to set a legendary new school record. But Ling playfully points out that things are actually much more interesting this way. She explains that Ting grew up incredibly rich and spoiled, so he will definitely see this rejection as a war declaration. She warns the principal that their president is not someone you want to cross once his pride gets damaged. Jian keeps complaining, whining that Chen only has an ego because of a glitched C-rank test, but Ting hints it might be real. He admits that even if it is unlikely, he cannot let anyone steal his crown. Meanwhile, Jian remembers Chen lacks real combat experience. After all, the student council members are true elites who secretly trained inside a demon lair. Jian suggests going to teach Chen a painful lesson. Ting cuts him off, asking if he honestly thinks their president is that petty. Stuttering, Jian realizes his mistake and quickly apologizes. Ting then abruptly cancels their celebratory karaoke plans, leaving Jian to deal with the fallout all on his own. Ting coldly adds that whatever Jian chooses to do is none of his business. Naturally, Jian catches the green light immediately. Shortly after, a spy approaches Jian, reporting that Chen has already left school to head back home for a bit. He mentions Chen left without even grabbing a bite to eat, which makes things incredibly convenient. Jian smiles at his perfect luck. Oh, this is going to be bad. He gets hyped to crush Chen where nobody can save him. As Chen crosses the street, he remembers a massive disaster from his past life when an elite guild tried clearing a demon lair in St. He. Inside that very dungeon, they encountered a terrifying boss named Wrath, who completely obliterated the elite team without them even landing a single blow. The beast then escaped straight into the human world, causing absolute, widespread devastation wherever it went. Even though his memories of the event are quite blurry, Chen is dead set on tracking down that lair in this timeline. To jumpstart his plans, Chen needs serious cash, so he heads straight to the Mithril Monster Exchange Center. He remembers that in the near future, this very exchange center is going to become the nation's absolute largest trading hub. In this world, an awaker's raw power heavily relies on high-quality gear, making this exchange the perfect spot to buy and sell top-tier loot. But right now, Chen simply views it as a quick cash grab before he can tackle his much larger goals. He strolls inside and presents some beast fangs to the broker, who immediately examines them with a pretty suspicious look. The broker asks how his student got these, but Chen calmly replies they dropped from a monster he defeated earlier. Stunned, the broker admits he has never seen such specimens. Just then, his assistant steps in, identifying them as fangs from an E-rank Sangin beast. She adds that these fangs can either forge an E-rank weapon or be ground down into valuable crafting powder. The rude broker cuts her off, dropping the fang back on the table. He snaps that an E-grade item is pretty much worthless anyway, boasting their shop is strictly for VIPs. They only deal with high-status awakeners and D-grade gear, even using that to excuse his own ignorance about it. He complains internally. Not a single rich customer has walked in lately. Helping a low-tier student won't get him a promotion, so he sees no point in it. He calls Chen a bother, dumps the work on his assistant, Li, and walks away. Li politely hands Chen an envelope of cash, asking if there is anything else she can do for him. Chen checks the envelope. Inside is 18 grand, easily enough to pay his rent for now without any stress. Then, he pulls it out. The glowing greatsword from the Purgatory Rakshasa immediately grabs Li's full attention. Even though she has never seen anything like it, she guesses it must be at least B grade or maybe even A grade. The broker strolls back over, scoffing at her guess and saying A grade gear goes for around 1 million. Despite working here for years, he claims he has never seen an A grade item in person, just as the owner walks in. The boss calmly states that the weapon is neither A grade nor B grade, while the broker quickly praises his smart judgment. He smugly agrees that a mere student could never own something so valuable, but the owner explains it actually comes from the Purgatory lands. It is an S-grade weapon. Honestly, you can almost hear their jaws drop as they both freeze in total shock. The owner immediately shakes Chen's hand, warmly welcoming him as a highly honored VIP guest. He invites Chen into the VIP room, telling him to ask for whatever he needs, which leaves Chen feeling pretty satisfied. The guild boss, Qingji, finally showed up exactly as Chen planned, and once inside the VIP room, he asks how much Chen wants to sell the weapon for. 1 million. Chen answers instantly, which completely surprises the green-haired boss. The boss tells him this legendary gear could easily sell for tens of millions since it is extremely valuable. However, Chen explains that he just wants to use the greatsword as collateral for a $1 million loan for 30 days. This leaves the man even more surprised. Realizing Chen is incredibly smart, he wonders who exactly this kid is. Chen calmly adds that he will pay back the principal in 30 days and handle the interest the following month. Before answering, the guild boss asks the assistant to step outside so they can talk business privately. Once she leaves, he mentions knowing that Chen attends the National Awakener University where the seniors are about to graduate. He adds that he knows the graduation test is in 30 days and the prize money is exactly 1 million. The boss then asks Chen directly if he is absolutely sure he will take first place in that test. The guild boss figures out that Chen desperately needs cash and wouldn't be doing this unless it was his last resort. In the end, he offers to lend Chen 1.5 million right away with absolutely no interest. Reaching his hand out, he smiles and says this will be the start of a beautiful friendship. Chen is left speechless by the generous offer, while the man reassures him that not a single word will leak out of this room. He simply asks that in return, Chen comes to his guild whenever he wants to trade anything else. Chen thinks to himself that this man figured everything out so easily, yet didn't even try to scam him. He now understands why this guild boss becomes such a massive big shot in the future. Shaking his hand, Chen knows he needs strong allies to defeat the Demon Lord. Moments later, the contract is signed. The cash is instantly sent directly over to his account. The guild boss then asks if he needs to borrow a weapon for the test since he just gave his away. Even though the guild doesn't have any S-rank gear, they still have plenty of high-quality A-rank equipment for him. Chen tells him not to worry, and check this out. He simply summons his other great sword, leaving the guild members completely blown away. With that, Chen takes his leave. Right after, the guild boss promotes the pink-haired assistant to reward her for bringing in such a high-level client. Before leaving, Chen realizes he forgot to buy something and turns back to the counter. A few hours later, he is waiting at a bus stop. He remembers how in his past life, he struggled a lot to reach the top, and people treated him like trash. Working endless shifts just to make ends meet, he and his sister had to live like they were practically homeless to survive each month. His sister, Yuan, managed to get into her dream university back then, but she gave it up, claiming the campus was too far from her brother. But in reality, she was just afraid of putting a heavier financial burden on his shoulders. Present day. He wonders why she hasn't shown up yet and starts looking around. Suddenly, a voice calls out, calling him stupid for searching near the entrance instead of the exit, as Yuan pulls along her huge suitcase. She hits him with the bad news they are flat broke because rent just wiped them out. But Chen just stands there completely frozen. It has been 7 years since he last saw her. Finally, she snaps him back to reality, telling him to grab her bags. When he does not move, she waves her hand right in front of his face to wake him up. That is when Chen suddenly lunges forward and wraps her in a tight hug, catching her off guard. After a pretty awkward pause, she jabs him in the ribs to break free, complaining that he is practically choking her to death. She points out that he has been acting pretty strange lately, teasing that maybe his school crush finally dumped him, but he just laughs it off. The two of them start heading home while she keeps rambling on about her upcoming exams. Even so, Chen is just incredibly happy to listen to every single word. He quietly vows that in this lifetime, he will never let anyone hurt her again. Meanwhile, in a dark alley nearby, some sketchy thugs are waiting. Once they confirm Chen is heading their way, their leader, Jian, orders his crew to stay hidden so they can jump him all at once when he arrives. Wearing a wild, twisted grin, Jian promises himself that he is going to make Chen pay dearly for what he did. One thug nervously asks if they will get in trouble if this fight gets out of hand. The Cloud Assassin scoffs, saying he only wanted to rough him up at first, but their last meetup really set him off. Thinking back to how Chen humiliated him, Jian tells his lackeys to save the fun for him, swearing to teach Chen an unforgettable lesson. Jian brags about being the absolute best Cloud Assassin in the business, practically drooling as he imagines the absolute look of despair on Chen's face. As Chen and his sister continue walking, Yun notices his weird mood again, wondering if he is just stressing over his upcoming tests. She laughs it off, teasing that a total weakling like him should not be overthinking things. Yun reminds him of his own favorite advice to just keep pushing forward and leave the rest to fate. To cheer him up, she starts belt-singing a silly motivational song as they wander right into a dark alleyway. Chen is honestly touched that she picked up on his mood so quickly, though he knows she still has no clue about his insane new powers or cash. When he confidently insists he is totally fine, she wonders if that is just his fragile male pride talking. Yun shakes her head, silently thinking that her little brother is finally growing up into a real man. Oh, look at this. A thug alerts Jian that Chen is walking with a girl, which gets the assassin hyped since there are no security cameras in this dark alley. But Chen immediately senses their hostile vibes and realizes these are the exact same punks from the student council. Pulling out his wireless earbuds, he gently slips them directly into his sister's ears. He tells her to listen to a new song he has been really enjoying lately. It surprises her since he is not really a music guy, but she goes along with it. Meanwhile, Chen spins around, staring absolute daggers at the punks as they close in. As the music blocks out the world for Yun, the thugs charge and the street fight kicks off. Chen instantly activates his devastating lightning element. All he can think about is how he spent 7 painful years without his sister, and he just got her back. Fueled by pure rage, he wonders where these pathetic losers got the nerve to jump them. Watch this, he blitzes forward like actual lightning, kicking the first thug so hard he goes airborne, making the rest of them instantly break a nervous sweat. Chen channels his power and drops 3 thugs with consecutive punches, then absolutely destroys the 4th with a brutal knee to the ribs. Another idiot tries to throw a punch, but Chen casually catches his fist. With zero effort, he snaps his hand like dry spaghetti. The thug screams in absolute agony, only to get a heavy fist planted directly onto his nose. Watching his entire crew get absolutely demolished, Jian freezes in sheer horror, wondering how Chen got this insanely strong. Chen does not slow down for a second, throwing heavy punches left and right as he carves a path directly toward the Cloud Assassin. As Chen corners him, Jian desperately tries to convince himself that he is the ultimate assassin, screaming that he simply cannot lose. But Chen quickly drags him back to reality with a devastating blow that sends him flying. Rushing in, Chen unloads a barrage of strikes, knocking several of Jian's teeth clean out. The Cloud Assassin rolls violently across the asphalt before crashing hard into a concrete wall. He slowly looks up, only to find Chen glaring down at him like a literal demon. Chen stares down at the broken Jian, reminding the piece of trash that he already warned him to back off. Looking straight into his soul, he asks if a brainless idiot like him cannot even comprehend human speech. Absolutely battered and broken, the once cocky assassin cannot even feel his legs anymore. With half the bones in his body completely shattered, he realizes he picked a fight with a monster, barely whispering a pathetic apology. But Chen immediately silences him, grabbing him by the collar and pressing a freezing dagger right against his skin. Looking into Chen's eyes, the self-proclaimed elite assassin sees the truth. This guy will not hesitate to take a life. This is definitely not the aura of some average high school student. Jane can't help but wonder what kind of absolute hell could reshape a man into a monster like Chen. He's just dripping with cold malice. Chen warns the broken kid to remember his words perfectly if he wants to avoid living through this nightmare ever again. He'll gladly tear them to shreds if they ever pull something stupid like this again. Laying down his final warning, he adds one last terrifying condition. If they step within a single mile of Uni, he'll hunt down and erase every single person they care about. His message is delivered. He tosses the dagger aside and casually walks back to Uni before the song even ends. Meanwhile, Uni is completely overwhelmed with raw emotion, crying her eyes out over the terribly sad and lonely lyrics of that track. She weeps, heartbroken over how much her brother had to suffer to change so drastically. She even wonders if she somehow didn't support him enough back then. Drying her face, she spins around, fully ready to scold him. Watch her reaction here. She freezes mid-sentence the instant she spots the gift in his hand. The beautiful, shiny, gold-plated pen she has always dreamed of owning is sitting right in front of her. Uni blushes bright red with pure excitement. She can't believe her brother actually bought her the newest holographic magic pen. It's something that costs way more than their whole monthly rent. Her adorable reaction melts Chen's heart. Her expression makes it obvious she really doesn't want to return it, even if that's the smart move while they're quite far behind on rent. Clenching his fist behind his back, Chen silently vows to protect Uni's smile in this life and get her into her dream school. Back home, Uni spends hours happily tracing glowing holographic drawings all over the air. Watching her, Chen quietly enjoys a bowl of her homemade ramen, genuinely happy she loves the gift so much. Still, the reality of their life kicks in, and she worries about him spending all this cash when next month's rent is still due. Chen just flashes a proud smile, revealing that their rent for the entire year has already been paid in full. He brags that his new side business with a friend is making pretty good money, but Uni is sharp and shoots him a highly suspicious look. She's clearly not buying this convenient little business story. Even so, she decides not to push him on it. Honestly, she can't even remember the last time Chen laughed so openly and freely. Gently patting his shoulder, she makes one simple request. Whatever secret hustle he's running, he just needs to make sure he doesn't burn himself out. Meanwhile, over at a quiet aquarium, Student Council President Ting shares some shocking news with his cousin. The city's best doctors declare that their top assassin is injured beyond all recovery. Over half the bones in his body are completely shattered. Fighting Chen was unexpected, but the terrifying state of his body after their clash is absolutely staggering. His cousin reacts with total indifference. Her only real disappointment is that the number of elite graduate students joining Ting's team just dropped. But Ting is just as ruthless, brushing it off. He claims he'll perform way better without some burdensome extra weighing him down. Right then, their uncle, who serves as the Academy's Director of Employment, speaks up. Director Gong Xuan calmly delivers his official report regarding Chen's recent moves. His detailed investigation into the chaos at the ranking ceremony is done, and the results are pretty undeniable. Get ready for this shocker. Chen actually ranks higher than Ting. This massive revelation catches him completely off guard. The director then offers some pretty stern advice. Ting's father personally requested a vice chairman of the Alliance to evaluate his upcoming combat exam. Because of this, Ting must shine brighter than anyone. But if he somehow fails to capture the spotlight, the director has a backup plan. The green-haired girl, the director's favorite niece, will join his team to guarantee they secure first place overall. But the arrogant student council president flatly rejects the offer without a single second thought. He haughtily claims he didn't even use a fraction of his real strength during the initial assessment. Supremely confident in his own absolute superiority, Ting assures them he'll easily dominate this entire academy completely on his own. Back at the academy dorms, Chen finally washes off after finishing a grueling daily 100-meter run with a heavy-weighted backpack. He is completely locked in on a single goal, winning the $1 million prize in the upcoming graduation exam. This prize is his only real shot at fulfilling his deal with the Myethil Guild's Chingi and establishing a highly profitable partnership. With only a few short weeks left until the exam, he hits the bed, not looking for rest, but to keep up his brutal grind even while sleeping. Shifting his mind into his dark lair, he finds Demon King Lu's massive void tower looming right ahead. Zero hesitation. He marches straight up the steep, imposing stairs toward the entrance. Last time, his initial test with the Gravhound King class got him a pretty solid mid-C rank. But the ridiculous power of his Abyssal Fiend class? That completely broke the Academy's testing system. Even the Demon Heart itself was totally unable to measure its real potential. So the only real way to test his other classes is pretty obvious. He has to unlock the Void Tower and unleash their raw, destructive strength directly on the battlefield. Walking inside, Chen wonders what kind of brutal, nightmarish trial this place is going to toss at him. But the second he catches sight of his welcome party, his eyes go wide. Suddenly, he is standing on a massive white planet drifting in a completely foreign dimension. With his very first step, he collapses to one knee, struggling just to keep himself from face-planting. This fallen star wasteland has gravity 10 times heavier than Earth, and he feels that crushing weight down to his actual bones. The entrance vanishes behind him. He has to kill the boss to reopen the exit. He needs to adapt fast before something tries to jump him, but a phantom lion prowling nearby has other plans. Out of options, Chen instantly swaps over to his lightning class. The beast pounces, but he barely slips past, driving his blade into its shoulder. It roars in pure rage, but the blow missed its vitals, barely leaving a scratch. It hits him immediately. His swings are just as painfully slow and sloppy as his heavy, sluggish movements. The Phantom Lion easily pins him flat to the dirt, lunging forward to tear a chunk out of him. These beasts are perfectly adapted to the crushing weight. He lets the predator bite his arm to buy time, then immediately switches to his Abyssal Fiend class. Swapping classes brings him a massive wave of raw power. He sacrifices his speed but gains a crazy boost to strength and stamina, exactly what he needs to survive this close brawl. With his new class active, he slams the aggressive beast down, instantly turning the tables in his favor. Rakshasa's gravity control is a total cheat code here. On a world with 10 times gravity, a 3 times multiplier hits like a truck. The monster roars in fury, but Chen shows absolutely zero mercy, crushing the beast straight into the dirt. Afterward, he collapses to catch his breath, only for Gluttony to pop up with a sweet level-up notification. He discovers that each of his classes has a star rating, which decides the exact stat boost he gets upon switching. Right now, Purgatory Rakshasa sits at the very top with the highest star rating. But even with that edge, he barely scraped by in a life-or-death struggle against a single B-rank Phantom Lion. Clearly, he has got a mountain to climb before unlocking his full triple S-rank potential. To make things worse, he is annoyed to see that Gluttony won't even let him absorb the fallen beast. This was definitely not the floor boss either, because the escape portal is still missing. Suddenly, a massive gate creaks open, and dozens of glowing eyes peer out from the shadows. Talk about a brutal wake-up call. If fighting just one lion was a struggle, get ready for this next part. Swarms of B-rank monsters flood through the gate, clawing and snapping at him from every single angle. Finally, he understands what Rakshasa was trying to warn him about. The demon said this place was packed with merciless beasts, and his path would be nothing but endless torment and agony. But he had to survive it all to truly adapt and force himself to grow stronger. Chen suddenly gasps awake in his bed, feeling like he just barely survived the most terrifying nightmare of his life. His roommates are still snoring away, completely clueless that he just experienced the sheer agony of being shredded alive by monsters. It hits him now the Purgatory Void Tower is definitely no easy shortcut to getting overpowered. He is only taking his first steps on a long, painful road. A few weeks fly by, and graduation day finally arrives. Rows of high-profile VIPs gather to watch the Academy's newest prospects. New rules drop for forming teams. Every single squad now has to carry at least one high E-rank student. As grouping begins, the Academy reveals everyone's rankings, making it pretty easy for players to scout out who they want in their squad. The list ranks everyone from top to bottom, but Malong quickly spots something that looks completely wrong. Chen is just as baffled when he finds his own name sitting dead last, right at the very bottom. Everyone stares in pure shock, wondering how a high-grade awakener ended up in the lowest spot. The jealous students immediately start talking trash, convinced his pretty high original rank was just some kind of scoring mistake. Still, even they can't deny his strength is pretty real, and having him on their squad would easily boost their final scores. Council President Ting stays completely quiet while all the other students whisper about the absolute fool who must be terribly regretting rejecting the president's generous offer. Wait, get this, the mastermind behind this dirty trick is actually Chen's own uncle, Gongguan. He figured absolutely no one would invite Chen to their party after seeing him at the rock bottom. His plan was pretty simple. If Chen can't even qualify, he won't ever get a chance to beat the student council president's team. A few hours earlier, the entire classroom practically begged President Ting to let them join his team. They tried their best to flatter him, but Chung shut them down, saying they could only add one more person. Now, every other student has already formed a team, leaving only the school's weakest dorm completely behind. Long admits they asked everyone, but absolutely no one wanted to join. Since they only have 4 members right now, they can't even take part in the graduation test. He complains that it is incredibly suspicious how Chen's score suddenly dropped to rock bottom, making him completely unfit to participate. Since the rules require at least one high-level rank, it really feels like their group was targeted on purpose. This graduation test is their only shot to show off their talent and get scouted by top guilds. For this final test, the head count decides how many monsters the group has to face, so a larger team is no advantage. That is why no one wants anything to do with these weak students, since they'd only be an extra burden. To make things worse, the 3 lowest-ranked students are all from the same dorm, leaving them completely isolated. A student calls out to Zuo, telling him their team is only missing one person. The guy tries to manipulate him, arguing that he surely doesn't want to fail the graduation test just by sticking with his weak dorm mates. Chen realizes that if this keeps going, there is a pretty high chance they'll all be left out and won't even get to compete. But the dorm king instantly rejects the offer, declaring he'll never abandon his roommates. The other group storms off in anger, but Zuo still warns them never to underestimate anyone. Checking the student list, Long announces that almost everyone has already formed a team. They only need one more person, but somehow, no one is willing to join them. Chen stares at the director, suddenly realizing the man shares the exact same last name as the student council president. Seeing these dirty tricks, Chen wonders if Gongwan actually thinks he is a real threat. Refusing to lose hope, he declares that he'll definitely enter the tournament, instantly activating his crackling lightning power. Since they are showing their hate so openly, he has no reason to hold back either. Releasing his raw energy, he steps forward while the officials watch in complete shock. Even his dorm mates start to wonder what is happening. Chen recalls that all awakener schools have a special rule to encourage competition. Students can challenge anyone at any time. Even though it might look like showing off, this is a surefire way to prove strength and get recognized. In situations like this, most people would simply refuse to fight, but Chen knows the student council president will never back down. If he beats the blonde guy, everyone will beg to join him. But look at that door, a beautiful girl suddenly appears, asking Chen if his team still needs one more. She adds that she also wants to participate in this year's graduation test. The vice president points out that she already reached D rank back in middle school, so she won't disappoint him. His dorm mates go wild, wondering how on earth he managed to get such a beautiful girl on their side. Chung and Ting look completely confused while the director nearly chokes on his water. The students start gossiping, wondering why on earth an exchange student wants to join the worst-ranked team in the school. No one really knows her, but rumor has it she comes from the legendary Saint Kingdom. The director gets furious and snaps that exchange students are strictly banned from taking part in the school's graduation test. He goes on to argue that Ling never took any rank tests at this academy, nor has she ever proved her official rank, which goes against all the rules. The principal suddenly appears and agrees that the director is correct. Gongwan is shocked when he sees the old man. The principal then asks why Ling even wants to join the test, since she is only staying at the school for a short time. Chen is caught off guard, wondering how the principal suddenly teleported since he belongs to the warrior class. The old man explains that it wouldn't be fair to others if she joins the test just to play along. Chen starts sweating because he realizes he cannot even perceive their true power ranks. The director finally gathers the courage to speak up, backing the principal by saying a school simply cannot function without strict rules. The principal then softens his tone, explaining that the ultimate goal of the academy is to guide awakeners so they can achieve truly great things in life. Sure, the graduation test is a classic tradition, but it is also a pretty massive moment for any student. The director openly asks how the academy plans to compensate students who miss out because of sudden changes. He breaks into a cold sweat. Deep panic sets in. Are his secrets finally out? He even starts to suspect that the principal is pulling all these strings just for Chen. No way. The director quickly backs down from this headache. He reassures himself that since the top students already teamed up, they will easily dominate the exam anyway. Bowing deeply, the director apologizes to the principal, admitting they completely forgot how this rule might limit a student's growth. He then announces that for absolute fairness, even low-ranked squads and groups with under 5 members can join the fight. The 4 roommates finally secure their team slot and cheer, knowing they can actually take the final exam. From the back row, the principal tells Ling that she seems a bit too interested in Chen. On one side of this trial, the student council president proudly leads the absolute strongest team. Across from him, Chen leads the 3 weakest underdogs, making the old principal highly curious about which cave they will dare to choose and how they will score. The official loudly announces that all team captains are now free to select their designated devil cave. His tablet suddenly chimes, catching him completely off guard because one captain already locked in a choice. Pure shock. Look at the cave he actually chose. His roommates absolutely lose it, begging him to switch his pick and asking if he has gone mad, but Chen just silently stares at the monitor. During this trial, student squads enter a devil cave to rack up points by slaying vicious beasts. Slaying massive monster bosses and clearing the zone quickly will award separate bonus points. The dungeon's raw difficulty level then acts as a multiplier for that total score. An F-rank dungeon yields up to 75 points, while an E-rank caps out at 100 points. The highest scoring squad gets recruited by the prestigious Imperial Guild, and the MVP walks away with 1 million WA. Students whisper that the best score ever recorded was 90 points, set by the Imperial Guild's legendary leader. Even surviving an E-rank zone requires at least 3 decent D-rank fighters, but this year, Ting's powerhouse squad might actually break that record. The main board suddenly chimes, notifying the whole room that a captain has already locked their choice. A student shrieks when they see Chen chose a D-rank dungeon, a tier literally no one has ever cleared, leaving everyone wondering if he just misclicked. Long asks Chen if he dropped on his head, while their dramatic doormate completely loses his mind at the display. The smart nerd tries talking some sense into Chen, who calmly replies that he considered this choice very deeply. Another alert dings across the room as the student council president selects that exact same D-rank cave. Ting's elite squad members instantly accept their captain's selection, officially locking them in for the grand trial. The entire class erupts while Ting's team acts incredibly smug, and a blonde goth girl mockingly roasts Chen for desperately trying to look tough for attention. A bald student scoffs that Chen's trash teammates will never sign up, and their squad will instantly fall apart. Long stares at Chen's face. He is not joking. Dead serious. Wondering when his buddy became so incredibly fearless, the nerd makes up his mind, hits the confirmation button, and decides to fully trust his friend. Yo slaps the green button next, feeling like he has nothing to lose. Annoyed that his roommates beat him to it, the dramatic dorm king slams his button too, officially confirming their entry into the exam. Turning to his roommates, Chen softly apologizes, explaining that he selected this high-risk dungeon to grab the ultimate high score. He admits he is dragging them into his dream, but reassures them they will reach the top together. And boom, just like that, the president steps up to claim that top spot for himself. Chen spins around to face him directly, as Ting releases a massive, crushing aura, coldly declaring that only one student can stand at the very top. Ling watches in pure shock from the back, as she has never once seen Ting display such intense, raw emotion. Their fierce rivalry is now out in the open, leaving the old principal quite proud of their absolute fearlessness. Still, Ling feels deeply uneasy about Chen picking a D-rank cave, a challenge that even solo C-rank fighters cannot handle. Sure, a team can earn a whopping 150 points, but the danger is too high, and his squad is simply not built for it. The principal quietly adds that with barely a single month left, catching up in time is practically a pipe dream. Even so, he hopes for the best, and 2 weeks later, everyone lies completely exhausted on the dusty training floor. Long wants to know why they are stuck doing brutal physical conditioning while everyone else is using easy simulators. Chen pushes them through all sorts of bone-breaking exercises, leaving the guys completely drained and frustrated. But Chen explains that simulation training is actually a total waste of time. Think about it, the first time someone steps inside a devil cave, their mind goes blank, leaving only raw instinct to save them. This physical grind builds real, raw strength, making their bodies move faster and react way quicker in a crisis. Sure, the absolute best training is clearing actual dungeons, but regular students can only dream of that. Only privileged elites get those golden opportunities. Even worse, those elites do everything in their power to keep regular people down so they can stay at the very top. They get easy access to top-tier resources that regular folks would spend their entire lives fighting to obtain. The dorm king asks what regular people are even supposed to do in a rigged system like that. That is when Chen drops his plan. If they can somehow join the mighty Imperial Guild, they can break this broken system. This upcoming graduation exam is their single shot at leaving the elites in the dust. Driven by that massive goal, Chen promises to do whatever it takes to guide them to a massive victory. With only half a month left before the big graduation exam, our boy grinds inside the Void Tower every single night. Taking down those lethal phantom lions is absolute hell, but he refuses to quit no matter how badly they trash him. 5 days out, his roommates are pushing their absolute limits. But Chen, he is on a whole different level. His insane workout routine makes standard high-intensity military drills look like a light warm-up. With only 2 days left on the clock, his rival is working hard too. But Chen? He is evolving at a breakneck speed. Now he is confidently taking on an entire pack of beasts under crushing high gravity. With blood dripping down his face, he looks absolutely unstoppable. On the big exam day, a tiny guy drone hovers near the nervous students. Our crew rolls up in matching gear, looking incredibly sharp. The second they strap on their special tracking wristbands, the high-stakes exam officially kicks off. Outside the main exam area, the academy principal warmly greets the legendary Gong Lin. This distinguished man is President Ting's father, who also co-founded the massive Imperial Guild. The awestruck students cannot stop staring at the elite co-founder like he is some legendary beast in a zoo, but their curiosity spikes even higher when they watch the principal and the guild leader step up to greet a luxury white limousine. A powerful red-haired man named Carl Candish calmly steps out of the luxury ride. The crowd completely loses it because everyone instantly recognizes him as the vice chairman of the entire World Guild Alliance. A VIP of his status would normally never set foot here. Up in the private suite, the school director informs the special guests that 23 teams are currently challenging basic F-rank demon lairs. A few groups chose E-rank lairs, and only 2 extremely brave teams selected high-tier D-rank dungeons. The Alliance secretary, a woman named Secret, looks quite shocked that any student would make such a suicidal gamble. Normally, even an official D-rank squad has to prepare with extreme caution before entering a D-rank dungeon. She bluntly asks if the academy actually cares about basic student safety. Hearing her concerns, the director calmly assures her that everyone fully understands the lethal risks. He points out that rookie awakeners with 0 real-world combat experience usually struggle hard against even simple F-rank mobs. But the real threat is always the dungeon boss, whose power is leagues above the regular creatures roaming around. Countless squads end up failing because they simply cannot bring down that boss. But get this, everything changes inside an E-rank dungeon. In those zones, even a common mob is just as deadly as an F-rank boss. The secretary then questions whether they have any safety nets in place if the situation takes a turn for the worst. The school director quickly reassures her that they prioritize their brightest young talents above all else. To guarantee their survival, a high-ranking warrior from the Imperial Guild is posted outside each portal, ready to intervene instantly. On top of that, the high-tech wristbands worn by the students can instantly teleport them away if they forfeit or if their vitals drop to dangerous levels. She silently wonders how long those overconfident teams can actually survive in there. Meanwhile, the smug director is fully convinced the young rookies will soon come running back out crying for their moms. Deep inside the freezing D-rank dungeon of towering ice trees, Chen's teammates are shaking in absolute terror. Honestly, anyone would freeze after coming face to face with these hideous creatures, looking like a demonic cross between bats and monkeys. Chen barks a quick warning to his squad, telling them that these beasts dive bomb targets in the blink of an eye, so keep your guard up. Suddenly, a whole swarm of ghost monkey bats dives straight for their throats. Incredibly, the clumsy rookies somehow manage to dive out of the way of the lightning-fast strikes. But as the boys celebrate dodging their very first D-rank monster strike, something even crazier catches their attention. Chen stands there calmly with a lightning sword in hand, surrounded by dead monsters lying at his feet. He tells his team to focus on saving themselves first, since they are not strong enough yet, leaving the rest to him. Out of nowhere, another ghost monkey bat lunges at them with blinding speed, but they barely manage to dodge it in time. Zuo Shangsu realizes that Chen had actually been pushing them to train their reflexes and speed so they could survive against monsters like this. Zhu grits his teeth. He had been calling himself the Dorm King all this time, but now he has no choice but to rely on his random roommate. Meanwhile, Chen completely wipes out the remaining ghost monkeys. They dive toward him in waves, but he slices them down before they even know what hit them. Zhu mutters to himself that he always heard about Chen's strength from Ma Long, but this is his first time seeing it in person. To him, Chen does not look like a student at all, but rather a battle-hardened soldier. As the fight continues, Zhu feels a bit of jealousy creeping in over Chen's rising reputation. Out of nowhere, another monster appears behind the group, and Zhu barely manages to block its strike. He grabs the creature's leg with his flaming hands and yells at his teammates to stop acting like deadweight and get it together. After all, Chen isn't the only one whose graduation is on the line. The others stare at him, surprised by his sudden determination. Inspired by Zhu's stubborn will, Zuo Shangsu casts his Vine Lock spell. Watch this, he successfully ties up the monster, but it breaks free almost instantly, kicking Zuo Shangsu in the process. Ma Long casts his Frostbite Breeze spell, which only slows the monster down a little, so they decide to combine their attacks. Teaming up, they manage to hold the creature down and yell for Zhu to shoot. He charges up an explosive flame bullet for a direct hit, but it does nothing. It only leaves behind some burnt hair, and firing more bullets does not seem to put it down at all. Zuo, Shangsu, and Ma Long are already pushed to their limits. Zhu decides he can't afford to hold back anymore. He gathers all his strength and unleashes a massive flame attack straight at the monster, triggering a huge explosion. When the smoke clears, only a charred skeleton remains. The drone announces that they have successfully killed a D-class ghost monkey bat. The three of them collapse onto the ground, completely drained. They are thrilled that they actually managed to defeat a D-class monster on their own. Chen walks over slightly surprised, and they immediately ask if he saw them take it down. The monster leaves behind a single finger bone as loot, and Zuo Shangsu tries to act tough, casually claiming that killing it was a piece of cake. Chen congratulates them anyway. Soon after, the drone announces that all the monsters inside the Devil's Cave have been cleared. Watching the live feed, Director Gong nearly loses his mind. He can't believe these supposedly weak students with zero real combat experience defeated a D-level threat. The rest of the staff just stay completely silent. At the same time, Vice Chairman Candish's assistant calmly praises Chen for his outstanding performance. He thinks to himself that Chen's aura reminds him a lot of an old friend. The Vice Chairman mentions Chen's name and decides to remember him, which instantly worries Gong Ting's father and the director. To keep the focus away from Chen, Director Gong quickly points everyone's attention toward the student council team inside the other D-rank cave. He points out that the team has already reached the middle section. The chairman's aide praises their teamwork, comparing their skills to a professional guild raid team. Chairman Carl smiles at this and says that the graduates this year are truly impressive compared to past classes. Director Gong whispers to himself that the real battle is just starting and the best part has yet to be seen. Inside the D-rank Toxic Vine Cavern. Look here, Gong Ting's group is attacked by poisonous mushroom monsters popping up from all directions. A girl plays her guitar to cast a decay spell while a star mage groups the mushrooms together using his attraction ability to set up a combo attack. He calls out to the captain and Gong Ting charges in with his sword, ready to finish the monsters off in style. With a single fast strike, Gong Ting unleashes his blazing sky sword skill, blowing the mushroom monsters apart perfectly. His teammates notice that the monsters in this school test are exactly the same as the ones they fought during training. Since they know exactly what to expect, they handle the fight easily with zero pressure. They already guess that the school officials set up the test ahead of time for them. Having the right support makes life much easier for them. Thinking this, they start celebrating early. They are totally confident that they will win first place this year without a real challenge. Down on the deepest floor of the misty cloud forest, the crew is pretty shocked they even made it to the boss room. Standing in a freezing wasteland, they spot a massive ghost ape just casually eating its lunch. Shangu starts sweating bullets immediately, just thinking about how terrifyingly strong this beast is. A single blow would easily take him out. Right on cue, the massive monster slowly locks its cold eyes on the weakest guy in their squad. Malong lets out a terrified scream, and that one sudden noise is all it takes to trigger the beast. The giant ghost ape lunges forward in an insane leap, forcing the terrified crew to run for their absolute lives. But Chen? He just charges straight in. He leaps directly into the beast's massive face with a brutal kick, unleashing a rapid volley of punches that launch it skyward before literally tearing the monster to shreds. His friends just watch in absolute, jaw-dropping shock. Honestly, Chen is actually pretty annoyed because these weak D-rank monsters barely give any experience points, and the loot drops are total garbage. Suddenly, he hears his teammates shouting happily that they stumbled on some giant mana stones. It looks like the giant ghost ape was keeping these glowing crystals hidden inside a hollow tree trunk. Amazed by the hidden loot, the boys instantly reach out to grab it. Chen screams a warning to back away, but he is too late as a blinding burst of light erupts from the trunk. Within seconds, the entire cavern is flash frozen. Solid ice. Shangu, the Dorm King, and the broadcast drones are all instantly turned to ice by the freezing blast. And of course, that's when the feed cuts out. Look at that sketchy director smiling, he definitely planned this. He knew these high-rank beasts set brutal traps, and it was only a matter of time before Chen's rookie squad walked straight into their doom. Vice Chairman Candish frowns, deeply concerned for the students. The director acts all sympathetic, claiming they must abort the mission immediately, but the principal flat-out refuses to pull them back. He reminds everyone that the kids are not in real danger yet, since their rescue wristbands will only trigger on critical health, and nobody has surrendered. The principal firmly believes only the students should choose when to quit. Down in the frozen depths, Malong is shivering uncontrollably. Somehow, he is the only squad member who escaped being frozen, thanks to his class having a naturally high resistance to ice magic. Suddenly, Long hears a terrifying laugh and spots a chilling skeleton ice monster glaring right at him. He instantly recognizes this beast as the Dungeon Lord, remembering its description from the guidebooks. This thing is a cloud mage, capable of dominating both offense and defense by freely controlling snow and ice. Even worse, this nightmare is called the Bone King of Remains, and it absolutely loves slowly torturing its prey to death. Realizing the shiny stones were just a massive trap, he turns and bolts immediately. Long knows damn well he stands zero chance against a C-rank lord alone. He charges toward Chen to break the ice, but a frozen spear pierces his leg before he can make it. The Bone King mocks his pain while Long's bracelet starts flashing, warning him that his leg has been fully impaled. An alert asks if he wants to forfeit, but Long stubbornly refuses to quit. Desperate, he still drags his broken body forward to thaw Chen out before they lose everything. Suddenly, another frozen spike tears straight through his arm, brutally cutting off his final attempt. It is painful to watch. The Bone King loves every second of his torture while the bracelet screams warning after warning. With his arm pierced and heart rate hitting critical levels, the system prompts him to forfeit the exam once again. Instead of quitting, he remembers his painful past. He was always a coward who ran away the second things got tough, letting everyone leave him behind. He remembers the bullying, the cold shoulders, and the mocking laughter. But they have all sacrificed far too much to throw away their future like this. Realizing this is his last shot to rewrite his destiny, he gathers every scrap of strength, stands tall, and finally shatters the ice holding Chen. He shields his friend just as the Bone King fires a lethal storm of sharp icicles right at him. Right before impact, Long lets out a defiant roar, and in that exact instant, Chen snaps his eyes open. The remaining ice explodes, and Chen blitzes forward, grabbing Long and pulling him out of harm's way in a flash. This insane speed completely blindsides the Bone King, and Long realizes that Chen actually broke out of that frozen prison entirely on his own. Chen genuinely thanks his buddy for trying to save him and immediately checks on his bloody wounds. Long gasps that the bleeding stopped and he will live, warning Chen that their enemy is a cloud-type C-rank lord called the Bone King. He warns Malong that combat here is extremely dangerous. They must avoid getting frozen again at all costs to survive. But as they turn, they see the Bone King charging up a massive swarm of ice shards. Malong is stunned, realizing the monster is about to drop a giant ice nuke right on top of them. An instant later, the bomb crashes down, burying the area in a blinding white mist. The monster starts cackling in victory, but freezes when it sees both boys standing completely unharmed after that devastating blast. Chen instantly switches his class to Doomflame King and triggers Frost Body, his Cloud Warrior skill that grants total immunity to cold damage. The shift also jacks up his resistance stats in cold zones, turning this frozen battlefield into his own personal playground. The giant Bone King screeches, pure horror. Even Malong is totally lost, watching his friend, who was supposed to be a vault assassin, transform into a cloud-type warrior instead. He wonders if Chen is one of those rare, god-tier prodigies who can awaken two separate classes at once. Chen simply apologizes for the mix-up, admitting his misjudgment dragged his team into a pretty deadly spot. Then, he shifts classes again, this time becoming an abyssal fiend. Drawing his Purgatory Warrior sword, he stares down the Bone King, fully ready to end this right now. Malong's jaw drops. Honestly, it is absolute disbelief. See, regular awakeners are born with only one specialization, but there is a tiny, almost impossible chance for a person to hold two classes at once. Dual-class users like that are so rare you can literally count them on one hand. They are absolute treasures that every elite guild is desperate to recruit, but that is not even what has Malong shaking. Looking closely, he realizes that Chen is not running one or two, but three entirely different classes, and each class is top tier. In his Abyssal Fiend state, Chen's combat stats begin spiking at an absolutely ridiculous rate. Pure, raw physical power launches him off the frozen ground like a rocket as he charges the boss with explosive speed. The boss's smug grin instantly vanishes. Pure terror sets in. With one clean sweep of his blade, he cuts the bone monster in half like butter, instantly jumping to level 17 and grabbing some rare loot. Staring at the shattered bones, Malong is still in shock that Chen just one-shot his C-rank boss. Chen casually interrupts him. The rest of their squad is still frozen solid. Malong instantly panics, realizing he completely forgot about the others during that entire insane battle. He rushes over to thaw them out before they freeze. Once Malong is gone, Chen sees a system option to devour the fallen Frostlich King. With absolutely nobody watching, he quickly absorbs the defeated boss, unlocking the powerful Cloud Mage class. Since the boss's icy blast completely blinded the nearby cameras and drones, nobody on the outside will ever know about his secret power. Then, another shocker. A surprise notification pops up. His Lightning Assassin class leveled up 2, giving him an extra star to boost one of his core stats. Meanwhile, over in the D-rank Gloomveen Grotto, the Student Council President's squad is getting utterly wrecked. No matter how hard they strike back, this D-rank boss is way too tough for these rookies. The mage trying to bind the beast with mana chains is on the verge of collapsing. Even worse, the Lightning Archer's arrows are basically giving the monster a light massage. The beast easily tosses them around, like cheap toys. This embarrassing beatdown makes them wonder if all those high-tech simulations were completely useless. They have never faced anything with this kind of raw power. Now, their mage realizes the president is their only hope of winning. Standing far behind the front lines, the president strikes a highly dramatic pose. He charges up his ultimate skill while soaking in power buffs from his support mages. Once he gathers enough energy, he launches himself forward, driving his flaming sword straight through the beast's core. The sword erupts into a violent storm of flames, melting the beast from the inside out. His teammates explode in wild cheers, celebrating the rise of a legend who will surely go down in the history books. A nearby drone announces they cleared the D-grade zone in just over 30 minutes, leaving the team hyped and absolutely sure they took first place. No other team could beat that time. No way. The team exits the dungeon, fully expecting to see their names sitting right at the top of the leaderboard. As they walk down the halls, they pass crowd after crowd of traumatized students who quit early, completely haunted by the high-level monsters they face for the first time. Suddenly, the president's lackey spots Chen and his squad just sitting off to the side. Just one look at the exhausted team makes it pretty obvious. They must have failed the second they stepped inside. Gongting's sidekick struts over, mocking Si Chen for failing halfway after acting so incredibly confident earlier. Shut up! His boss immediately silences the noisy sidekick as the Alliance vice chairman approaches. The elegant man slowly claps, offering the students his congratulations on their pretty impressive performance. As he walks closer, Gong Ting keeps a cool face, but his followers are practically shaking with excitement to stand before such a global powerhouse. Gong Ting confidently reaches out for a warm handshake, but Carl Cavendish completely ignores him, walking straight past without a single glance. Left humiliated in public, Gong Ting feels his massive pride utterly shatter. Making things way worse, the vice chairman loudly calls him a real legend, gripping Si Chen's shoulder and announcing the kid cleared a D-rank dungeon in just 20 minutes. Honestly, not even the elite professional squads from his own guild have ever touched a record like that. Pure silence. Gong Ting and his sidekick are left completely speechless. They can't fathom how 4 absolute nobodies beat their 10-man squad's time to clear a D-rank lair, but Si Chen doesn't even blink. Receiving high praise from the most powerful hunter in the nation literally means nothing to him. Even so, he wonders why such a massive deal came to a school like this, while Carl Cavendish calmly promises to remember Si Chen's name. Turning to Gong Lin, the man who invited him, the vice chairman casually remarks that his son seems pretty talented too. It is a pretty weak compliment at best, leaving an incredibly bitter taste in the mouths of both father and son. He's done. The vice chairman casually announces it is time for him to take his leave. The anxious academy director quickly steps in to salvage the situation, announcing the final results as a perfect tie between both top teams. Thanks to this tie, every one of them will receive an official invitation to join the massive Imperial Guild. I mean, can you blame his roommates for celebrating? They are basically set for life after he completely carried their squad. Gong Ting's lackeys celebrate the news, but the proud president himself is far from happy with a shared victory. The director adds that both captains get guild management roles for their leadership, while the $1 million cash prize gets split right down the middle. Both team leaders are pretty shocked by this, and Si Chen secretly worries that $500,000 won't cover his massive debt. He has to figure out another way to grind the rest of the cash and honor his contract with the Mithril Exchange Guild. But wait, the proud Gong Ting openly refuses to accept a mere tie. He boldly demands a brutal one-on-one duel to decide the actual winner, insisting there can only be a single champion. This sudden, reckless challenge is so wild that it stops the academy director and even the vice chairman in their tracks. Desperately alarmed by his nephew's sheer stupidity, the director urgently begs Gong Ting to just accept the tie. The old man pleads that a tie is the absolute best outcome, especially after his humiliating display earlier. He expects Si Chen to reject the stupid duel, but our main character immediately agrees on one condition: the winner takes the entire $1 million prize. Now here's the fun part: this crazy twist actually gets the vice chairman to stop and watch. Showdown time. Si Chen steps right up to face him, fully prepared to settle things once and for all. Later on, Qingji tells Si Chen he always expected him to win, but a perfect score was beyond his wildest dreams. Seeing Si Chen plastered all over the news, Qingji feels pretty damn good about his financial backing. He even offers to completely wipe out Si Chen's $1.5 million debt as a future investment. Refusing to accept any easy handouts, Si Chen firmly states that a debt is a debt and will be repaid in full, before bringing up two major things that instantly pique Qingji's interest. First up, Si Chen requests a simple one-week extension on his repayment deadline. Because the exam ended in a tie, his prize money fell short by a painful $500,000. But he's already got a plan to get the rest a high-stakes duel against the other co-champion, Gong Ting. The showdown is set for next week inside a wild devil's cave, leaving Qingji completely horrified by the reckless plan. Wondering why two students would dive into an untamed dungeon, he warns Si Chen it is suicide without professional training. Completely unfazed, Si Chen tells him to relax and promises he will bring back that remaining $500,000. To compensate for the delay, Si Chen promises to hand over every single monster material he harvests inside as extra interest. Seeing Si Chen show absolutely zero fear about the debt, Qingji literally sweats in complete disbelief. While the manager silently admits this young man is incredibly special, Si Chen casually mentions there is a second, far more important reason he came. Wearing a dead serious face, Si Chen bluntly delivers his final piece of news, and whatever he says leaves Qingji totally paralyzed with shock. Cheng Jue stands up. Speechless, he stares at Su Chen in stunned silence. Later that afternoon at Qinghui Middle School, Su Chen's younger sister, Su Yun, celebrates finishing her final exams while her classmates complain about the brutal test. Swiping through her phone, she smiles. Her summer vacation has finally started. Then she remembers. Today is also a huge day for her brother, his graduation assessment. Staring down, she smiles at her phone lock screen showing a happy selfie of her and Su Chen. 4 years ago, an ecstatic Su Chen burst through the door, clutching his National Awakener University admission letter. Absolutely thrilled to finally unlock his elemental potential, young Su Yun excitedly asked if he was going to become an Awakener just like their parents. Full of hope, Su Chen promised to join a top guild and make tons of money for them. He believed gaining power would let him uncover the truth behind their parents' mysterious disappearance. Su Yun cheered him on, completely confident her brother would become a powerful Awakener, but in a much more recent memory, a quiet, defeated Su Chen sat at his desk. Already a senior, he worried. His dormant powers still had not awakened. Spotting Su Yun watching him, he quickly tried to mask his heavy sadness with a forced smile, telling her that everything was completely fine and he just had to work a bit harder. Su Yun reflects on his long journey. Despite working harder than anyone, he was the only senior who failed to awaken. She suddenly realizes his pain. He was so incredibly lonely, hiding everything just to protect her. Just then, her classmate Jutong runs up to greet her and share some crazy news. Jutong reveals that the National Awakener University produced 2 legendary, genius graduates this year. She explains that both of these prodigies led their teams to perfect scores, earning praise from the vice chairman Carl of the Guild Alliance and putting their county on the map. Remembering Su-yoon's brother goes to that university, Jutong asks about him. Su-yoon hesitates, her heart sinking at the question, but before she can even speak, a pink-haired student interrupts them with a flirty smirk. The boy is none other than school idol Jean Duxuan, who smugly says he booked a private room and asks if she is free tonight. Jutong is shocked, asking how Su-yoon knows him, but Su-yoon just looks annoyed. She runs. Without saying a word, Su-yoon turns and sprints down the hallway. A confused Jutong wonders why her friend is fleeing while Jin Duxuan watches her leave. Sprinting home, Su-yoon imagines her brother crying in deep defeat while his classmates celebrate. Desperate to comfort her brother, she decides to cook a massive, cheering feast. Later that night in their cozy apartment, Su-yoon prepares a massive, steaming hot pot along with tons of delicious side dishes. Su-chen is completely blown away by the massive spread, asking his sister how she cooked so much food so quickly. While Su-chen happily digs in, Su-yeon watches him in silence, her eyes full of worry, while the TV news starts broadcasting a report on the university graduation test. Su-chen calmly keeps enjoying his meal as the news anchor details the high-profile visit of Vice Chairman Carl. She assumes he is just faking it to hide his failure, but look how fast this turns around. Suddenly, the news anchor reports a rare dual champion event, 2 perfect scores. The broadcast reveals that Vice Chairman Carl highly praised one of the team leaders who earned that perfect score, calling out the name Su-chen. Hearing it, Su-yoon stares at the screen in pure shock. She simply cannot believe the reality that her brother, whom she thought had failed completely, is actually the genius with a perfect score. A dimly lit room. A bloody whip sits on the cold floor as a voice coldly declares that the stage is set. The speaker is Gong Lin, standing menacingly over his badly beaten son, Gong Ting. Wielding the whip, Gong Lin roars that he had invited an elite crowd to watch his victory, scolding his son for utterly ruining the performance he planned. Covered in raw, bloody lashes, Gong Ting wheezes heavily as his father furiously snaps that he embarrassingly tied with an absolute nobody. Gong Lin declares that his son will no longer make any decisions, revealing that he has already taken full control and rigged the upcoming tiebreaker match. Gong Ting hangs his head in defeat as his father coldly takes over everything. He vows to win, by any means necessary. He is utterly obsessed with ensuring first place belongs only to the Gong family. Meanwhile, hearing the broadcast, Su-yoon turns to her brother to ask if the Su-chen on television is really him. Su-chen just calmly eats his dinner and confirms it. Shocked to the core, Su-yoon drops her spoon, which shatters on the floor as a sudden flash of lightning mirrors her shock. She stares at him in total disbelief, slowly realizing her own brother achieved such an unbelievable feat during his graduation assessment. She is amazed he led his team to a perfect score, but was also personally praised by the vice chairman Carl of the Guild Alliance. A stunned silence settles over the dinner table. Pretty overwhelmed, Se-yoon lowers her head to wipe away her tears, smiling at her silly brother. She smiles at Si-chen with proud, happy tears, knowing he finally reached the peak. This happens on the night of June 17th, 2157, when Vice Chairman Carl Cavendish relaxes in a private room, slicing into premium beef. Savoring his steak, he asks his quiet companion for a report on her assignment. Sitting opposite him is Ling Yu. She quietly hands him a black folder of top-secret files on the Devourer. She tells Carl the target left absolutely 0 traces this past year, warning that their own surveillance might get busted. Carl completely ignores the warning. He praises her work, telling her to eat. Ling Yu hesitates, offering one more lead. She spotted a highly suspicious individual who recently reached out to Carl, which immediately catches his eye. This newcomer is gaining power at a rate that is pretty much abnormal. Inside the Devil Tower, a shirtless Si-chen is ready. Golden electricity crackles. He realizes he spent over half a month on this first floor, slaying almost every single beast. He is completely adapted to the 10 times gravity now. His menu shows his level 17 Lightning Assassin class. Since the graduation fight, his Lightning Assassin class hit 100% proficiency, giving him a bonus attribute point. And get this, active use builds class proficiency. Floating with the avatars of his 4 distinct classes, Si-chen realizes none of them hit their caps yet. He dumps that new point into speed, the ultimate assassin stat, boosting it to 740, matching an A-rank killer. But even with this crazy boost, he is stuck in a heavy standoff against glowing purple phantom lionesses. His real problem is the Floor Lord. That giant phantom lion king is completely untouchable. 2 lionesses spring forward. Si-chen triggers his divine flash skill, flashing like golden lightning to strike back. But the Lion King's tricks are weird. Whenever he attacks an opening, the beast just vanishes. He studies their combat pattern. They shift fast, keeping 2 lionesses up front to fight while the other 2 stay back on standby. The Lion King keeps his distance. Si-chen narrows his eyes, realizing the boss refuses to fight head-on. Looking at the beast, Si-chen wonders what class this king is using. As a phantom lioness lunges, Chen counters, shoving a heavy bolt of lightning straight down its throat. But right before the kill, the beast vanishes in a flash of pink light, leaving him pretty damn annoyed. This teleportation trick, it is not just for the Lord. The females vanish the second they get hurt. A portal opens, letting them easily teleport right back next to the Lion King. Now you see their strategy. The second he pauses, another beast leaps in to bait his next move. Needing to break this loop, Chen channels his golden lightning and unleashes a storm of slashes. But his blades connect with absolutely nothing. The pack holds their ground, warping back to their king whenever danger gets close, forcing him to block their glowing claws. Every blow hits nothing. These slime monsters vanish instantly to dodge his damage. They rotate through the portals, keeping a fresh attacker constantly clawing at him. Chen keeps striking back, but they warp away at the exact second of impact. This tag team loop continues, slowly dragging him into an exhausting fight. Sweating under the relentless pace, Chen glares. The boss is purposely toying with him, jumping high to dodge a claw. Why is he stubbornly fighting teleporters with pure speed? Switching tactics, Chen opens his screen and triggers a class swap, wrapping himself in freezing blue energy. With ice forming like heavy armor, he realizes he does not need close-range skills if the boss refuses to fight. His hair turns snow white. His eyes glow a brilliant blue. He will use his mage class to shut down their slippery movement. The system confirms his switch to level 17 Frostbone Skeleton King. Standing tall under a freezing crown, Chen gets ready to paint the entire room and freezing area of effect spells. Armed with his level 17 Cloud Mage class, the Frostbone Skeleton King, Chen hovers high over the cave and unleashes his massive area spell Frost Spike. A heavy barrage of ice spikes rains down, causing massive explosions that force the Phantom Lionesses to scatter and run. From his view above, Chen notes that while mages might be weak up close, their long-range attacks let them completely dominate the battlefield. He immediately targets the Lion King with an ice spike shower. Right as the attack is about to hit, the beast uses spatial magic to vanish, stepping out of a portal safe and sound to dodge the blow. But as the Lion King regroups with the other lionesses, a massive swirling vortex of frost traps the entire pack. Chen smiles by forcing them into his kill zone. Their annoying hit-and-run tactics are officially over. Sensing danger from above, the panicked Lion King looks up to see Chen creating a massive sphere of absolute zero, the Frost Blast Bomb. Chen coldly tells them there is nowhere left to hide, leaving the terrified Lion King to let out one last desperate roar. Hurling the massive frost bomb down, Chen detonates it on contact, covering the entire battlefield in a blinding flash of freezing light. When the light finally clears, the devastating results are obvious. The Lion King and its entire pack are frozen solid inside jagged pillars of thick ice. With his targets completely frozen, Chen quickly switches classes, summoning a glowing pink sword right into his hand. His eyes glow bright blue as he confidently declares that this first-floor battle inside the Dreadspire is officially over. Using his Stellar Warrior class, Chen leaps down toward his frozen targets and unleashes a heavy triple cataclysm strike. The massive energy blade easily slices through the trapped lionesses, shattering their icy prisons and cutting them down in a single sweep. Those defeated beasts quickly dissolve into dark mist, leaving Chen victorious beside the fallen Lion King. The system confirms his victory. His alias, Ash C, levels up to 24, and he receives several phantom bones and a rare heart. A new system prompt appears over the defeated Lion King, showing that this boss monster is ready to be devoured. Chen stands over the dead beast, gathering a bright light in his palm to start the absorption process. His eyes glow crimson as he focuses his energy on the corpse, curious to see what kind of evasive class this monster had. Unleashing his absorber ability, Chen pulls a swirling vortex of dark red energy from the dead beast right into his fist. And you won't believe what pops up next, the Lion King's secret Stellar Tamer class. The card details its highly annoying abilities, which force contracts on other beasts and teleport them instantly across the battlefield. Looking over the Stellar Tamer card, Chen realizes he has never seen a class like this, explaining why the boss avoided direct combat. He realizes the Lion King's base stats were weak, forcing it to hide behind those teleporting minions. Reading the card's skill list, Chen has to admit that this Stellar Warp teleportation ability is incredibly broken. He also finds the contract skill interesting, even though it relies on intimidating targets into absolute submission. To secure a contracted beast of his own, he realizes he will need an incredibly terrifying and aggressive approach. And here's where things get weird as the starry void suddenly shatters, catching him completely and totally off guard. The illusion breaks completely, revealing the Dreadspire's true first floor, a vast, boiling hot desert of rolling sand dunes. Staring at the barren wasteland and giant skeletons scattered across the sand, Chen wonders what disaster caused this. Suddenly, a crackling sound draws his attention. A vertical rift tears open into a fiery portal, signaling that the gateway to the second floor is officially open. Just as he prepares to move, a hostile glare and a low growl from the shadows behind make him quickly spin around. He quickly traces those glowing pink eyes to a giant rib cage buried in the sand. Hiding inside is a fluffy lion cub, growling fiercely despite being bound in heavy magical chains. Chen is pretty surprised to find a survivor. Assuming it is the last remaining enemy, he summons a crackling lightning dagger to finish the job. But as he gets closer to the hiding cub, he notices something. Since the cub didn't vanish when the Lion King died, it must not be one of the boss-summoned minions. Looking closely at the heavy chains wrapped around the small creature, Chen wonders if the Lion King kept the cub locked up against its will. Staring down at the bound cub, Chen gives a terrifying glare, leaving the poor little creature absolutely terrified. But instead of attacking, Chen quickly swings his blade, shattering the magical chains. Free from its heavy bindings, the little lion falls safely onto the soft sand. Chen turns away, calmly stating that he is giving the cub its freedom. Before walking off, he asks if this ruined wasteland used to be its home. The little lion shakes off the dust while watching him closely. Looking on with sympathy, Chen reflects on the horror of losing your loved ones and seeing everything destroyed. The cub stares quietly as Chen admits he knows that exact kind of pain. Heading toward the portal, Chen tells the cub to survive and keep moving before declaring it is time to climb higher. Suddenly, a glowing blue system screen pops up right in front of him, showing a beast contract request. With the beast offering it willingly, success is guaranteed at 100%. The contract unlocks 2 passives, sharing experience for stat boosts and granting vision if the beast is in danger. Chen pauses and turns around, completely caught off guard by the sudden notification. The fluffy white cub sits on the sand, gazing up at him as the system names it Lion King Leo and asks if Chen accepts this small creature as his first contracted beast. Chen stares down at Lion King Leo, asking if the cub really wants to follow him. The baby lion replies with a brave roar. Standing before the burning gateway, Chen explains his relentless goal to climb the Dread Spire, warning that the upcoming monsters will only get more terrifying. He tells the cub it might die and asks for one last confirmation. Leo responds with another loud roar. Seeing such fierce determination, Chen accepts the bond, their eyes glowing with matching pink pentagrams. The system flashes a message that the contract is complete, sealing their soul pact. It officially displays his new Stellar Tamer class and the Stellar Pact skill. This lets him force contracts through sheer intimidation, though the beast dies if the master falls. 2 new passives activate. One raises the stats of the cub by sharing experience, while the other shares the vision of the beast whenever danger is near. Lastly, Stellar Warp unlocks, letting him teleport straight to the cub or summon it instantly. With the pact sealed, Chen smiles and heads forward. The energetic cub bounces along. Approaching the swirling vortex of fire, Chen gives Leo one simple rule. During any battle, its only job is to stay alive. With that, Chen steps right through the blazing portal. They step out onto a jagged cliff overlooking a massive underworld of bubbling lava and towering pillars of liquid fire. Sweating through his clothes, Chen groans at the brutal heat, feeling like the intense temperature might melt his skin. While they look around, Leo peeks over a boiling ledge. Chen admits he has no clue what is ahead, but a sudden splash in the lava startles the cub. A blinding flash explodes. His instincts scream, his eyes glowing red as he senses a terrifying, overwhelming threat. Wait, what? Before he can even brace himself, a blindingly fast attack tears straight through his chest. Chen bolts upright in his real-world bed, gasping for air while clutching his chest. He realizes he was killed in a single frame without even seeing his killer, completely shocked by that nightmare power. Shaking from the phantom sensation of his own demise, he wonders what kind of absolute monster rules that second floor. His heavy dread is cut short when his sister, Si-yoon, yells from outside the door that breakfast is ready. At the table, Chen stares at a massive spread of ramen and fruit. He tells Si-yoon, who is packing her bag, that she made way too much. Chewing on a piece of toast, Si-yoon tells him to wash the dishes and reminds him to hang the laundry. Watching her tie her sneakers, Chen asks where on earth she is rushing off to during her summer break. She says she is heading to a part-time job. Worried, Chen reminds her that he is taking care of money now. Si-yoon smiles, saying that since he is doing so well, she refuses to be left behind. She adds that sitting around all break sounds awful, then cheerfully tells him to do his chores and heads out. Doing exactly as his sister said, Chen washes up the dishes and hangs the wet clothes in the living room. Cleaning up, he smiles thinking about how she has always been like this. Staring at their framed photo, he admires how incredibly strong she is. Funny thing is, even though she is still a kid, he always feels like she is the one taking care of him. Soon, his mind drifts back to his heavy responsibilities. Once school is sorted, he has to prepare to face the Demon King, Wrath. That brutal war will keep him away from Si-yoon for a very long time. Thinking of her bright smile, he knows she is the one person he cannot lose. Right then, a wild idea hits him. Pressing his fingers to his temple, he wonders if a crazy experiment might actually work. His eyes flash pink as he channels his power. A portal opens, and Lion King Leo tumbles right out onto the floor. Chen stares in complete disbelief. Get this, he actually managed to summon his contracted beast straight out of the tower and into the real world. The hyper little cub instantly makes itself at home, racing across the living room and shredding tissues. Looking at his glowing screen, Chen forms a new plan. During his absence, Chen can easily order Leo to protect his sister. With his passive skills, if Yoon is ever in danger, he can share Leo's vision to teleport to her. Since she absolutely adores animals, he knows she will love this. Looking at his companion, Chen smiles, totally confident that gifting her this tiny cub is a brilliant move. Suddenly, a massive crash from the kitchen cuts him off. Shocked, he rushes to check, hoping Yoon still likes her new pet. But all his confidence vanishes the moment he sees the room. The little lion is causing absolute chaos, smashing plates and aggressively biting on the sink faucet. Meanwhile, out in the city at dusk, a wave of dark energy blasts a street camera, creating a massive blind spot. Below, a bloody man clutching an ice blade stumbles back in absolute terror. He desperately begs his hidden attacker as a giant, terrifying demonic claw materializes right in front of him. The massive claw lunges forward, brutally impaling the helpless man straight through his chest. His eyes pop in sheer horror as glowing red tendrils lift him high into the empty air. A chilling system window pops up with a cold loading bar, showing he is being devoured. Meanwhile, an exhausted Yoon heads home carrying bags from her tiring summer job. Sighing in relief, her feet are totally dead from the crazy bubble tea rush. Her path takes her right into a dark, quiet underpass. She has no clue she is walking right under that broken camera. As her footsteps echo, a sudden presence makes her stop. She spins in shock as a cold voice from the shadows calls out she is finally here. Waiting in the shadows, Jin Dushin is standing there with a massive bouquet of red roses. He steps right into her path, holding out the flowers with a smug grin. He tells her she ran off too fast to hear his invite, bragging that he booked the entire top floor of Purple Peak Tower for them tonight. Staring at the roses, Yoon asks how he even knows her address. Jin Dushin proudly brags about his father, the hospital director, claiming this was easy. But completely unimpressed, Yoon coldly snaps back that they live in different worlds. She warns him never to find her again and walks away. Furious, Jin Dushin lunges forward and grabs her arm to stop her. He whines about how much effort it took to book the place, angrily demanding if she really plans to humiliate him in front of all his high-class guests. Yoon glares, telling him she does not care about his stupid reputation. Then, she calls him out completely, saying it is incredibly creepy that he literally stalked her all the way home. Enraged at being called a creep, Jin Dushin snaps. With a dark, sinister expression, he openly threatens her, warning she has no idea who she is dealing with or what he can do. But before he can even finish, Yoon swiftly counters, delivering a brutal headbutt straight to his face. The hard impact sends him crashing down, crying in pain as he clutches his bloody nose. Standing over the pathetic guy, an angry Yoon yells at him to get his brain checked at his dad's hospital. Fuming, she walks away, warning him to stay far away while grumbling that his stupid stunt totally ruined her day. Later that evening, a warm light glows from her apartment window, standing in sharp contrast to the dark, creepy alleyway down below. Once she gets home, Yoon is absolutely stunned to receive a fluffy white lion cub named Leo, her eyes instantly sparkling. She eagerly cuddles the tiny beast, completely in love with him. And she excitedly asks her brother, Chen, where he found this adorable thing. Chen officially introduces Leo as a special gift just for her. Overjoyed, she can't believe she actually gets to keep a baby lion. But as Leo purrs in her arms, she suddenly spots a weird detail. She wonders why this tiny cub already has a full mane, since normally only fully grown adult lions have them. She just completely brushes it off, planning to register him tomorrow. Watching them happily bond, Chen feels immensely relieved, knowing his sister will be safe with this beast by her side while he is gone. Suddenly, a loud ping from Chen's phone interrupts him. Looking down at the glowing screen, a satisfied smile spreads across his face as he reads an official email. It confirms his application is officially approved, letting him know that everything can now go exactly as planned. Now, with his sister secure and paperwork completed, Chen looks incredibly confident. He is finally ready for his next massive hurdle, the high-stakes graduation tiebreaker duel against Gong Ting in 6 days. 6 days later, the big exam kicks off at the edge of the city in Greenlight Forest, where director Gong Xuan tells both candidates to pay close attention. Standing before a glowing green portal at the base of a massive tree, Gong Xuan announces the school selected this wild dungeon for their match, adding that recent surveys rated as a D-rank zone. He confirms that both Chen and Gong Ting will enter simultaneously, taking the entire test together inside the very same dungeon. Then, He warns them both that wild dungeons are completely unmapped and far deadlier than standard school dungeons. With the stakes this high, 3 elite guild members from Esternia are joining as examiners. They'll enter the dungeon alongside the candidates, keeping them safe while grading their performance. The lineup features Ivan from the Imperial Guild, Yasmin Kai from the Divine Eye, and Sato Wota of the Silver Guild. Gongshan explains that the final scores depend entirely on these three. Meanwhile, a live broadcast of the exam plays inside a dark VIP room at the academy. Gong Lin smirks, watching the screen. He silently hopes the examiners handle their secret deal properly, leaving absolutely zero loose ends. In that very room, Principal Yuan Long asks Vice Chairman Carl Cavendish why he's still sticking around since his schedule ended 2 days ago. Carl laughs, keeping his eyes on Xian and Gong Ting. He replies that nothing beats an event like this, admitting he hasn't seen 2 real geniuses clash in years and refuses to miss it. Pointing toward the glowing green portal, Gong Shan loudly declares the graduation tiebreaker exam has officially begun. With fierce determination, the clash between Xian and Gong Ting begins as both candidates walk straight into the glowing portal. Xian steps out on the other side, still covered in the portal's lingering green aura. He looks around his new surroundings, a gloomy, dark forest choked with nothing but dead trees. Standing near the entrance, the examiners study this eerie environment, and Yasmin Kai notes it looks like a flower-type dungeon. Beside her, Ivan offers a cigarette to Sato Wota, who quickly shushes him, pointing out that the camera drone is recording. Suddenly, a loud, sharp buzzing sound echoes inside Xian's mind. Talk about a bad sign, a flashing red hologram erupts from his chest, painting his face in a crimson glow. The system flashes a massive alert, warning that an extremely dangerous creature is close. Stunned, Xian realizes this is the first time his demon heart has ever sent such a warning. Just like that, the system alert vanishes, leaving Xian wondering if a high-tier monster is really lurking in a simple D-rank dungeon. He and Gong Ting keep moving down a desolate, root-choked path. Gong Ting confidently takes the lead, navigating the thick fog while Xian follows close behind. Up on a high ridge, Yasmin Kai notes how heavy and suffocating the mist feels. Right beside her, Sato Wota orders the examiners to stay sharp and keep their eyes glued to the candidates. Then, look at this, a loud crack shatters the silence as the rocky ground violently ruptures right before them. A grotesque, massive insectoid monster bursts out from the earth, identified by the system as a poison cage ant, a D-rank flower archer. Reacting instantly, Gong Ting draws his blade and charges the beast. Watching this fast response, Ivan praises the young man's incredibly quick reaction time. But Sato Wota warns him that real dungeon monsters are faster, meaner, and way more vicious than anything in school mock battles. The poison cage ant strikes first, firing a toxic volley of glowing green spikes right at him. But Gong Ting easily deflects every single incoming strike with his lightning-fast blade. In one fluid, powerful motion, Gong Ting leaps high and slices the giant insect cleanly in half, its heavy upper body crashing onto the ground. Gong Ting's blade flares with blazing golden energy as he thrusts it straight into the fallen monster. Channeling his nuclear warrior class, Gong Ting fires off a devastating blaze blade barrage, completely vaporizing the creature. Watching from the ridge, Yasmin Kai pulls up a glowing green 10 from her wrist device. She gives Gong Ting a perfect score, praising his lightning-fast reflexes and how easily he neutralized those toxic ranged attacks. Ivan displays a perfect 10 as well, highly praising Gong Ting's battle logic. He points out that slicing the venom-launching organ immediately stripped the beast of its main weapon. Sato Wota proudly raises his own 10, giving top marks for finishing power after such a clean, decisive kill. As Gong Ting calmly lowers his glowing sword, the examiners marvel at his clean positioning, control, and execution, agreeing that maintaining such ice-cold composure against a wild beast is insane for a student. Sato Wota then points their attention towards Xian, who's just casually strolling around with his hands in his pockets. Sato Wota heavily criticizes his slow reaction, calling this total lack of interest a complete failure. Gong Ting stays silent, simply staring at his rival's remarkably relaxed, unbothered attitude. Back in the VIP room, Carl Cavendish and Principal Yuan Long watched Xian closely. Carl casually asks the principal what he thinks the kid is actually trying to pull out there in the deep fog. Principal Yuan Long smiles knowingly, figuring out that Si-chan is hunting for something very specific. Inside the dungeon, Si-chan pauses, tapping his foot against giant tree roots. He realizes this central spot is the key to wiping out the entire threat in one single move. Golden lightning crackles to life in his hand, shaping itself into a brilliant, jagged dagger. Declaring he's found his target, Si-chan drives his lightning blade into the roots. Watch this, the strike blasts, a golden lightning shockwave deep underground, violently tearing the earth. A hidden nest of poison cage ants shoots upward, completely engulfed and vaporized by the explosive electrical blast. Drenched in sweat, the examiners realize Si-chan targeted that monster nest on purpose. They question his sanity, absolutely terrified that provoking a D-rank swarm will get them all killed. Watching the chaotic explosion, Gong Ting loses his usual cool, completely shocked and wondering what Si-Chan is planning next. Gathering momentum, Si-Chan channels intense electricity into his boots, launching himself upward. Tapping into his Lightning Assassin class, he triggers his Flash God skill, rocketing upward like a blinding golden streak. Moving at blinding speed, Si-Chan intercepts the swarm of poison cage ants launched upward by his trap. He unleashes a rapid, relentless storm of slashes right through the airborne monsters. Darting between targets midair, he leaves a zigzagging web of golden lightning, shredding the whole swarm in seconds before landing back down gracefully. Si-Chan touches down. Shredded remains of D-rank monsters rain down while golden lightning fades from his hands, leaving the three examiners up on the ridge totally dumbfounded. Sweating in pure disbelief, Sato struggles to process the insane sight. While Si-Chan casually brushes green monster blood off his jacket, the shocked examiners realize his official profile lists him as a weak E-rank awakener. I mean, you can't make this up. A weak E-rank student just wiped out an entire D-rank swarm. Realizing they cannot possibly justify giving such a flawless run a bad grade, the corrupt examiners frantically whisper among themselves, desperate to fulfill their shady deal to ruin Si-Chan. They try to invent unfair excuses, like calling his style dangerously reckless or penalizing his clean technique. Up in the VIP observation room, Carl bursts into hearty laughter, praising Principal Yuan Long for predicting that Si-Chan was hiding his true strength, and noting how epic this display is since the exam has barely even started. He eagerly anticipates how Gong Ting will respond to this overwhelming power. Standing right behind him, Gong Lin stays dead silent, his face rapidly darkening as he glares at the screens. Suddenly, the live feed on the massive screen rips apart with heavy static. The video glitches out wildly before going completely dark, showing a stark red warning that says signal lost. Principal Yuan Long narrows his eyes, staring at the blank screen and demanding to know why the feed is cutting out again. Right outside the portal, frantic warning alarms start blaring from the monitoring equipment. A panicked technician frantically types away at his keyboard as the system flashes a critical signal error warning. The diagnostic screen reveals the dungeon's official D-rank status violently glitching into a bizarre question mark. At the same time, internal communication signals instantly plummet to absolute zero. The technician stares at the broken data in shock while director Gong Xuan breaks into a sweat, demanding to know what crazy thing is happening inside the dungeon. Their absolute panic peaks when the portal's swirling green energy suddenly vanishes. The glowing gateway is completely gone, leaving only a normal cave entrance and trapping all the candidates inside. Deep inside the sealed dungeon, a sinister, haunting melody begins to echo through the dark, physically floating around as glowing pink and green musical notes. Si-Chan freezes, listening to the creepy tune, immediately recognizing the terrifying presence hidden within. It is the voice of the Demon King, Wrath. Outside the dungeon at 4 p.m., the cave entrance suddenly seals itself into solid rock. Director Gong Xuan panics, demanding to know how the gateway could just vanish. A tech reports a total loss of connection, explaining that the gear threw a bunch of critical errors just seconds ago. Drenched in sweat, he orders his team to establish contact with headquarters immediately. He deeply fears that a massive catastrophe has just unfolded inside that sealed dungeon. Deep inside the dungeon, a creepy tune actually materializes as glowing musical notes floating in the air. Both Si-Chang Chen and Gong Ting stop in their tracks, staring at this bizarre phenomenon. Even the examiners look completely baffled by this sudden shift in the atmosphere. Yasmin Kai nervously asks if anyone else can hear it, and Sato Wo confirms it sounds like some bizarre music. Feeling those heavy rhythmic vibrations, Si-Chang Chen instantly freezes in absolute dread. He instantly recognizes that horrifying sound. It is the voice of Wrath, the Demon King. He desperately wonders why Wrath is lingering inside this low-tier dungeon. That monster is not supposed to show up for another 3 years. Suddenly, the demon heart system floods Si-Chang Chen with high-danger warnings. His entire body tenses up as his system interface literally screams at him about a lethal threat. As heavy footsteps rumble through the floor, Si-Chang Chen realizes a massive creature is standing right behind him in the thick mist. A creepy laugh echoes through the cave as a massive, dark silhouette slowly emerges from the dense fog. Terrified by this suffocating pressure, Sato Wo wonders what kind of beast is lurking there right as two glowing red eyes cut through the dark. The beast steps forward, revealing a grotesque humanoid mantis dripping with pure dark energy. Staring down at them, the creature mockingly welcomes the humans, declaring that they have walked straight into a death trap. Stunned, they hear the monster actually speak. Sato Wo immediately realizes that any creature capable of human speech must be a high-tier C-rank beast. He desperately panics, wondering how such a powerhouse could possibly show up in a simple D-rank dungeon. Fearing this high-tier beast will slaughter the students, Sato Wo summons a massive glowing battle axe and charges forward to block it, yelling at the kids to get back behind him. Wait before Sato Wo can even swing. The mantis demon strikes with blinding speed. With one clean, brutal slice of its scythe, the monster severs Sato Wo's entire arm right off his shoulder. While the other examiners freeze in absolute horror, the mantis demon vanishes and instantly teleports right behind Gong Ting with its bloody scythe. The creature mockingly tells them to just curl up and accept their miserable fate. With a brutal, sickening squelch, the beast drives its sharp blade right through Gong Ting's shoulder, piercing his chest and telling him to die. Despite being brutally impaled, Gong Ting grits his teeth through the agonizing pain, flashing a wild, completely crazed smile instead of falling down. Taking advantage of the monster's close range, Gong Ting swings his blazing golden sword and chops off the creature's stuck scythe arm, leaving the beast wide-eyed in sheer shock. Then, without hesitation, he delivers a crushing mid-air kick that sends the mutilated monster crashing backward across the jagged, rocky floor. Gushing blood from the massive hole in his chest, Gong Ting completely ignores the deadly damage, his eyes glowing with raw fury. Declaring that since this boss drew first blood, the kill officially belongs to him under the rules of combat priority. He fiercely warns Chen not to even think about stealing his kill. Chen watches the monster closely, his eyes flashing green as he activates his skills to analyze the creature's actual stats. The system screen updates the mantis demon's profile, revealing to the group that this thing is indeed a high-tier C-rank nightmare. Staring at the horrific wound in Gong Ting's shoulder, Yasmin Kai frantically screams for him to get medical help immediately. She begs him to stop the test and let them evacuate, screaming that this beast is way too strong for him to fight alone. Gong Ting flatly refuses, gathering blazing fire magic in his bare hand. He completely refuses to back down. Seriously, look at this insanity. Chen watches in shock as Gong Ting presses his blazing hand onto his bleeding shoulder, using fire to cauterize his own wound shut. Forcing himself through that excruciating torment, Gong Ting fiercely screams that this duel only ends when one of them stops breathing. With zero hesitation, Gong Ting leaps high into the air, aiming his blazing blade straight at the crippled mantis to continue his relentless attack. Meanwhile, outside the sealed entrance, Silas Lin, the elite leader of the Imperial Guild's King Squad, carefully inspects the vanished portal. He calmly explains that this phenomenon proves a highly intelligent monster is calling the shots inside, one that intentionally lured the humans inside before snapping the trap shut on them. Director Gong Zhen panics, frantically asking if they can force the barrier open since all the young students are trapped inside. Silas Lin coldly states there is only one way to make the exit show up. Someone inside has to hunt down and slaughter the dungeon boss. Clinging to some desperate hope, Director Gong Zhen tries to rationalize the nightmare. He suggests that since a typical D-rank dungeon maxes out with a C-rank boss, the trapped examiners and students should still have a decent fighting chance to kill it and make it out alive. But Silas Lin instantly crushes his hope. Silas reveals that the initial D-rank reading was just a fake mask made by the Overlord to hide the dungeon's true deadly nature. Connecting the clues, Silas realizes this exact dungeon is behind the recent string of disappearances his team has been investigating. He gravely warns a horrified Gong Guan that the trap they are facing is actually an extraordinarily dangerous B-rank dungeon. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, a monstrous insect attacks relentlessly with scythe-like arms, but Gong Ting holds his ground, parrying the heavy blows with his flaming katana. He quickly leaps back to dodge a sweeping strike. As the beast swings for a devastating blow, Gong Ting vaults into the air. The attack misses, burying its bladed limb deep into the dirt until it is stuck. Seizing his chance, Gong Ting yells out, "I have got you trapped now." With one swift, powerful slice of his glowing blade, he cleanly severs the creature's head. The headless skull tumbles across the rocky ground as the group gathers. Yasmin watches in completely stunned disbelief. She is amazed Gong Ting defeated the Overlord entirely on his own. Honestly, his strength is pretty terrifying. Nearby, Ivan channels a green healing aura into Saad's injured arm, asking if he is feeling any better. Sweating, Saad gasps out his thanks, but his relief vanishes the second he checks his smartwatch. He panics, yelling to the others, "We have no signal. We are completely cut off." Yasmin and Ivan immediately check their own gear. She confirms her connection is totally gone, while Ivan grimly notes that even their compass system is completely dead. Saad panics, demanding to know when the camera drones went offline. Gong Ting looks back, totally confused. But look at this, that headless mantis is standing right back up. Without warning, the headless creature lunges straight at a shocked Gong Ting. Instantly stepping in, Chen unleashes a flurry of golden lightning that shreds the beast to pieces. The system confirms the kill, awarding him experience. Still reeling, Gong Ting demands to know how it moved without a head. Chen calmly explains that Mantis was never the true Overlord. It was hypnotized the entire time, allowing its body to fight even after death. He warns the examiners and Gong Ting to get out immediately. Any of them could be the next target. Defensive. Gong Ting fires back, "How could you possibly know that?" Saad angrily accuses Chen of losing his mind, insisting there can only be one C-rank overlord in the dungeon. He barks that high-tier beast we just fought has to be the boss. Before Chen can argue further, his system floods his vision with critical warnings of a dangerous creature. Suddenly, a massive wave of psychic energy sweeps the cavern. Oh no, watch their eyes, Yasmin, Ivan, and Saad's eyes begin to glow with a sinister pink light as the hypnosis takes complete control of their minds. Realizing his warning has come too late, Chen quickly activates a wireless earbud, instantly recognizing the distinct pulsating sound wave. In his past life, he saw the Demon King Wrath use this exact frequency to effortlessly hypnotize and slaughter millions of ordinary humans across the globe. He turns around to see Yasmin, Ivan, and Saad perfectly synchronized, marching forward in a mindless trance. Believing this overlord is directly linked to Wrath, Chen coldly prepares to face the creature head-on, following the hypnotized examiners deeper into the dark cavern. Chen's system continuously bombards him with warnings about the highly dangerous creatures ahead. The group soon arrives at a massive, eerie lair filled with glowing green egg sacs, where towering serpents guard a central, cloth-draped figure. Fortunately, the monster's alpha frequency has no effect on Chen, thanks to the custom counter-frequency soundtrack playing in his earbud, a safety measure he prepared specifically for Wrath. But, knowing the unprotected examiners could drop dead from the intense mental strain at any moment, he decides to end the overlord immediately. The sinister entity senses their arrival, its voice echoing through the cavern as it hungers for their fresh flesh. Chen glares back coldly, ready to fight. In a flashback to years ago, an exhausted and bloody young Gong Ting stood over his brother, Gong Qing, after brutally beating him with a broken wooden stick. Watching the violent scene, their father, Gong Lin, coldly congratulated 8-year-old Gong Ting on his victory. Sitting comfortably at a fancy dining table, Gong Lin explained the family's harsh rules. The winner earned the right to eat, while the loser, young Gong Qing, had to kneel on the ground until sunrise. Left outside, young Gong Qing lay there bruised and beaten. Gong Chong kneels obediently, his stomach growling from hunger. Gong Ting secretly approaches his defeated brother, handing him a piece of bread. Shocked and terrified, Gong Chong whispers that their father will punish him if caught. Ignoring the danger, Gong Ting firmly tells his brother to shut up and eat, but his kindness is quickly caught. A brutal slap sends him spinning to the floor, forcing him onto his knees, trembling under his father's raised whip. Looking down, Gong Lin asks if he understands why their family holds so much power and status today. He proudly declares it is simply because he has never lost a single battle. Drilling his ruthless mindset into the trembling boy, he firmly states that winners are the ones who make rules, while losers must simply obey. Defiant despite the pain, young Gong Ting asks if beating his own son makes him the rule maker. Gong Lin merely laughs at the defiance. Years later, a battered Gong Ting collapses, falling to his knees. He coughs up blood on the cold ground beside his shattered sword, furiously asking why his father refused to fight him in a fair, honorable duel. He demands to know why his father ordered Silas Lin to step in and ambush him instead. Unmoved, Gong Lin smirks, replying that real strength is not just in his hands, but in the power and authority he commands over everyone else. Looking down at his defeated son, he says the world lacks fair rules. Instead, it runs on one simple truth: you must win. He reminds Gong Ting that the method never matters, only the final result. A Gong, expected to win, be number one. No matter the heavy cost to his family, his loyalty, or his own dreams. Gong Lin coldly declares that winning is the only reason Gong Ting is allowed to live. These brutal words echo back to his childhood, scarring him for life with the toxic belief that survival depends entirely on being victorious. Look at this mess back in the present. Our group stands before the massive, hidden overlord. It is surrounded by a terrifying nest of giant serpents and glowing green egg sacs. Chen remains completely unaffected by the monster's mind control magic because he prepared a special blocking frequency in his earbuds, expecting this battle. Knowing the hypnotized examiners could die from the mental strain at any second, he decides to slay the beast immediately. Right before he strikes, Gong Ting grabs his wrist, desperately whispering for him to stop. To break free, he does the unthinkable. Gong Ting viciously digs his fingers into his own fresh chest wound, dripping warm blood onto the floor. Gasping in agony, he admits he has no idea how Chen resisted the trance. He explains that self-inflicted pain is how he keeps his head clear. He urgently warns Chen that a reckless attack will expose their location and get everyone killed. Sweating profusely, he points to the glowing eggs surrounding the throne. He warns that if they disturb the nest, they will be instantly swarmed by dozens of high-tier monsters. Analyzing the setup, he realizes the cunning overlord disguised its lair as a low-level dungeon to bait unsuspecting hunters. Because of this trick, he is sure the beast will eventually come to them on its own. He suggests they play along and stay completely still. The moment the overlord gets close enough, they will execute a surprise attack together. Chen is genuinely impressed, admitting he did not expect Gong Ting to formulate such a logical plan under pressure. But despite the praise, Chen rejects the plan instantly. But get this, he warns Gong Ting that waiting is useless, because this particular monster does not even need to move to end them. The Overlord does not need physical contact with just a single thought. It can force anyone under its spell to commit suicide. Too late, the hypnotized examiners prepare to end their own lives. Sato pulls out a saw, Yasmin aims her gun at her head, and Ivan starts choking himself. Acting instantly, Chen uses his incredible speed to strike all three examiners, knocking them out cold before they can harm themselves. The Overlord sees it. Game on. Seeing its prey resist, the enraged beast declares that its delicious meal is completely ruined. In response, the Overlord triggers the glowing green egg sacs, causing them to rupture violently. Dozens of deadly, blade-armed mantises swarm out of the broken shells as the Overlord orders them to slaughter the intruders. As the lethal swarm surrounds them, Gong Ting realizes stealth is no longer an option and triggers his backup plan. Unsheathing his blade, he steps firmly in front of the defenseless examiners. Gong Ting orders Chen to grab the three adults and escape, promising to hold off the monster's swarm alone. Chen is totally stunned by the selfless decision of Gong Ting to sacrifice himself. Gong Ting admits he cannot defeat this massive C-rank swarm all by himself, but he firmly insists that he can at least buy Chen enough time to escape with the others. Flashing his flaming sword against a charging mantis, Gong Ting yells out that he is taking responsibility. He blames himself for demanding that tiebreaker duel and dragging everyone into this deadly trap. The raw strength of the monster strike overpowers Gong Ting, easily sending him flying backward. He slams his sword down to stop his slide. Panting, Gong Ting stubbornly insists that since this is his fault, he has to fix it. Chen steps forward, admitting he completely misjudged his opponent. Get ready. Chen is about to switch his class. Fully transforming into his level 24 Lightning Assassin class, Chen summons a glowing blade of golden electricity. Surrounded by the mantis swarm and the heavy aura of the giant Overlord, Chen channels his golden lightning and confidently says he has a plan. Bleeding heavily, Gong Ting immediately rejects the idea of fighting. He warns Chen that the Overlord is on a different level, guessing it is at least a B rank or even an A rank threat. He urgently tells Chen to grab those unconscious examiners and run, insisting that escaping is their only real choice. Chen agrees the monster is a nightmare, but points out a massive issue because the dungeon gates are locked down. He explains that if the exit were actually open, the Imperial Guild rescue teams would have saved them by now. Gong Ting is absolutely horrified to hear they are trapped inside. Chen closely watches the silent Overlord, trying to figure out how to handle this deadly situation. He figures that if this creature is truly an A-rank monster, its power must match the Phantom Lion King he fought back in the Dread Spire. Suddenly, the swarm attacks. One mantis demon leaps forward, but Chen easily blocks its heavy scythe with his crackling lightning dagger. Another mantis dives from above, forcing a panicked Gong Ting to scream for Chen to watch out. Before the beast can strike, Chen and Gong Ting swing their glowing blades together, cutting down the attackers in a flash. A second later, a massive swarm of mantis demons screeches, charging straight at them as Gong Ting grips his bleeding chest. Gong Ting grits his teeth, knowing that with this many monsters rushing them, they will be completely overwhelmed in no time. Ignoring the terrible odds, Chen calmly focuses his energy. Tapping into his Lightning Assassin class, he summons multiple crackling blades of electricity in his hand. He fires golden lightning blades, piercing right through multiple charging beasts all at once. Without stopping, he activates his Flash God skill, blitzing straight into the swarm at blinding speed. Slicing off heads in a flash, Chen leaves Gong Ting watching in total disbelief. He knows that the assassin class normally has incredibly weak base strength, making them useless against large crowds. Yet, he watches Chen cleanly dodge a massive scythe swing. Gong Ting notices that every single strike Chen makes lands directly on a weak point. He realizes Chen is completely compensating for the low raw power of his class with insane speed and perfect technique. Just look at those afterimages. Gong Ting cannot even track Chen and his crazy speed. As Chen decimates the rest of the swarm in a storm of lightning slashes, Gong Ting realizes his rival has easily reached A-rank speed. Inspired by such incredible skill, Gong Ting grips his sword with newfound energy, realizing they might actually survive. Annoyed by their persistence, the Overlord steps in. The beast charges up a massive wave of dark pink energy, triggering a powerful buff. This ominous energy flows over the remaining mantis demons, heavily boosting their raw strength and speed. The Overlord furiously commands the buff swarm to slice Chen to pieces, but our hero stands ready, blades crackling. One supercharged mantis tries to crush him, but Chen easily leaps over the strike and shreds the beast in midair. Seeing the battle grow even wilder, an intense Gong Ting yells for Chen to hold on, raising his own blade. Chen pushes his body to the absolute limit, unleashing a relentless storm of golden slashes against the buffed horde. Suddenly, a massive mantis demon blindsides him from behind. Using his insane speed, Chen vanishes just in time to dodge the monster's deadly attack. He reappears, instantly launching a rapid storm of close-range slashes, but his attacks fail to dent the creature's tough new armor. Furious, the giant mantis retaliates with a heavy blow of its own. Chen blocks the heavy strike, but the sheer force of the impact pushes him far back. Panting heavily, he realizes the Overlord's boost has pushed every single stat of these monsters straight to B- level. He notes their outer shells have become as tough as solid iron, making it impossible to easily stab their weak spots. So he figures they must find a way to completely break the armor first. Behind him, Gong Ting shouts his thanks, knowing that Chen has bought him some crucial time. Without hesitation, he sacrifices his speed, stamina, and elemental control to pour everything into raw strength. Instantly, flames erupt around his sword in a massive, exploding pillar of fire. Later that evening, inside their rental apartment, Yoon arrives carrying groceries and apologizes for taking so long to buy the drinks. Seun, with the little cub Leo resting on her shoulder, tells Young not to worry since her brother isn't home yet. Young is quite surprised to hear that Chen is still out. Jung asks if her brother knows she passed the Art Academy exam. Seun replies that she hasn't told him yet, but did mention she has huge news to share. Figuring he's just running late, she suggests they go ahead and start without him. Just then, Seun holds up an empty jar, realizing they have completely run out of garlic sauce. She tells Young to wait at the apartment while she and Leo make a quick run to the store, adding that she will grab some snacks for their celebration. Shortly after, Seun finishes her shopping at a local convenience store and heads back outside. As they walk, Leo happily eats some food while hiding inside her backpack. Seun smiles and calls him a little angel for being so incredibly quiet. She warmly praises the cub for being a good boy and promises to buy him cookies on their next trip. Unbeknownst to Seun, she's being watched from a nearby alley. A man standing with a hooded partner holds her photo and reports over his radio that they've found the target. He then asks his boss if they should attack. A voice over the radio tells him to hold off and tail her until she's out of range of the street cameras. Confirming the order, the man continues to watch. As Seun walks home, the sound of heavy footsteps follows closely behind her. The stalkers match her pace and start to close the distance. Knowing these men have been following her since she left the convenience store, Seun wonders what exactly they want from her. Hidden safely inside her backpack, Leo lets out a low warning growl. Seun gently holds him, asking the cub if he senses the danger, too. She whispers for Leo to stay hidden inside. Looking back at her stalkers with a brave, sharp expression, she quietly says her night just got interesting. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, a heavily panting Chen realizes the monster boss's dark energy has pushed this bug swarm to a much higher threat level. Seeing that their shells have become as tough as solid iron, he knows he can't easily cut through them anymore. He realizes he needs to find a way to break their armor first. Just then, Gong Ting shouts his thanks, telling Chen that he bought him exactly enough time. Sacrificing his speed and magical energy, Gong Ting focuses all his remaining power into raw strength, bursting into a massive pillar of flames. With his strength pushed to its absolute limit and his eyes glowing, a furious Gong Ting unleashes his final move. Swinging his blazing sword, he unleashes a massive, devastating wave of fire, declaring he'll burn the monster to ashes, no matter how strong it is. The massive fiery attack crashes straight into the charging swarm, vaporizing the bugs. Tearing right through the group of enemies, the giant blade of fire strikes directly at the calm, waiting boss. The strike explodes upon impact, trapping the terrifying monster in a huge, blinding blast of fire. Barely able to stand, Gong Ting falls to his knees and leans heavily on his sword, realizing his physical energy and magic are completely depleted. Wiping sweat from his face, an utterly exhausted Gong Ting breathes a heavy sigh of relief. As the flames clear to reveal the charred remains of the swarm, he happily declares that the fight is finally over. However, an evil laugh echoes from inside the fading fire as the boss mocks them, asking if that was really all they could do. Gong Ting freezes in pure shock while Chen calmly stares toward the source of the sinister voice. The smoke clears to show the boss completely unharmed, protected inside a massive glowing green shield. The monster glares down, calling their final attack disappointing. Total fear washes over Gong Ting's face. He completely loses hope, realizing he used every last drop of his power and still failed to leave a single scratch on the creature. Keeping perfectly quiet, Chen looks closely at the enemy's defense, realizing that right before the fire hit, the boss drained the remaining monster eggs to build a shield strong enough to block anything. Barely able to stay standing, a totally defeated Gong Ting breathes heavily. Losing all hope, Gong Ting helplessly wonders if this is truly how they both die. Stepping past the broken Gong Ting, Chen calmly offers him a quick deal. As his combat class begins to shift, Chen offers to let Gong Ting take first place in the exam. But there is a catch. Chen keeps the entire cash prize, and there is one strict rule. Gong Ting must never speak a word about what he is about to see. Summoning his glowing sword, Xian fully transforms into his secret demonic class. Gong Ting stares in utter disbelief, completely shocked to realize his rival actually has two different combat classes. And here is where things get crazy. Sudden streams of glowing pink energy violently rip themselves from the dead bug corpses. Xian activates a unique skill that drains the remaining energy and strength from the nearby dead bodies, converting it directly into his own power. A massive pillar of pink energy explodes around Xian, sending his power levels shooting up to entirely new heights. Shielding his face from the violent wind, Gong Ting watches this unbelievable display of strength in absolute shock. Even the boss pauses, silently staring at the boy while breathing out a cloud of energy through its sharp fangs. Xian feels his raw strength and stamina surge to their absolute limit. Shrouded in dark demonic energy, he confidently repeats his earlier claim. He is going to kill the monster himself. The Overlord quickly counters by casting its Soul Rest Enigma skill. A powerful wave of energy erupts from the monster's glowing green barrier, filling the entire cavern with heavy psychic pressure. The brutal mental attack slams straight into Gong Ting. Bleeding and exhausted, he clutches his head in agony, desperately fighting the mental hypnosis. Fully transformed, Xian does not even flinch. The Overlord freezes when Xian starts walking toward it with his massive sword resting on his shoulder. Bewildered, the beast demands to know why its hypnosis has absolutely zero effect on him. Desperate to crush him, the Overlord unleashes its sonic hell attack, blasting a massive shockwave outward. The shockwave tears through the cave, but Xian stands perfectly solid while Gong Ting buckles under the pressure, screaming out in pain. The Overlord glares directly at the boy. Xian stares right back, his eyes glowing. Taking a slow step forward, he keeps marching straight for the shielded monster. Panic strikes the Overlord. It stammers, unable to comprehend why its attack failed completely. The Overlord orders its shadow summons to rip Xian apart, and a giant dark serpent lunges directly at him. Xian tightly grips his glowing blade and, with one brutal swing, splits the shadow serpent's head completely in two. The beast crashes to the dirt, but two more giant serpents dive at him from above. Bracing himself, he swings his sword in a wide arc, decapitating both beasts with one clean slash. With the path cleared, Xian charges straight for the Overlord. The monster actually laughs, boasting its barrier is unbreakable, but watch Xian leap high, positioning himself right above that glowing shield. The system suddenly announces his stellar warrior skill. Ossuary Collapse activates, draining the lingering strength from surrounding monster corpses to bolster his own power as Xian lets out a deafening roar. He swings his massive sword down with all his might, shattering the barrier into tiny shards as the Overlord stares in absolute disbelief. Gong Ting is stunned. His rival literally pulverized that legendary shield in a single strike. Xian drops his weapon, charging his fist with blinding, radiant energy. The system immediately confirms the activation of Triple Cataclysm in crushing mode. He drives his fist straight through the Overlord's body, blowing it completely apart with raw power before slamming the monster deep into the earth. As the smoke clears, the shattered Overlord is reduced to a shadowy remnant, muttering that it is half dead. Standing over the broken monster, Xian sternly orders it to speak, demanding to know its exact connection to Wrath. The Overlord is stunned, asking how a mere human could possibly know Lord Wrath's name, but Xian fiercely demands an answer. The Overlord spits back that if it actually knew where the Demon King was, it would be breaking his seal instead of rotting in this dungeon. Xian freezes as the truth hits him. Someone in this world actually managed to seal Wrath away. The Overlord bursts into hysterical laughter, warning that Lord Wrath will rise again to reclaim his armies and slaughter every single human down to the bone. The Overlord's glowing core ruptures, completely dissolving into the air. Xian reaches out as his Gluttony System activates, greedily absorbing the monster's glowing green essence. The system confirms the absorption, granting Xian a brand new class called Phantom Sorcerer, fully equipped with the Overlord's psychic attacks and barrier abilities. His level instantly jumps to 25, earning him 3 rare black scale snake galls. Examining his new abilities, Xian begins to connect the dots. Wrath did not just appear out of nowhere in his future timeline. The Demon King was already trapped in their world long before the invasion ever started. A massive hidden conflict took place in the past just to seal him away. Yet, Xian knows absolutely nothing about it. His thoughts shatter when he notices Gong Ting limping slowly toward him. Injured and coughing up blood, Gong Ting admits he never expected to face a dual-class user. He concedes that Xian is on another level, fully accepting him as the winner of their duel. Gong Ting promises that Chen's secret is completely safe. He vows to take what he saw to his grave as his strength fails. Coughing up blood, he slumps against the damp cavern wall. Chen tells him to stay strong. Since the Overlord is dead, the exit will open and the rescue teams should arrive any second. Then Chen freezes. His passive warning skill triggers, flooding his mind with danger. The system forces a shared vision on him, revealing exactly what his contracted beast, Leo, is seeing. A dangerous man is radiating dark, swirling energy. Chen realizes where Leo is and screams his sister's name. The psychic link reveals a powerful awakener with glowing green eyes commanding creepy, shadowy tentacles. He is cornering a terrified Se-yun, who clutches Leo tightly to her chest, shielding the cub from those creeping tentacles. In the late afternoon on June 24th, Se-yun is walking home through the narrow city streets. Ever since she left the convenience store, creepy shadows have matched her every step. Two smirking thugs are trailing right behind her, keeping close. Hidden inside her backpack, little Leo senses the hostility as well, letting out a tiny, protective growl. Feeling her bag shift, Se-yun whispers to her cub, asking if he senses the threat, too. Instead of panicking, she gently cradles the bag and tells her little partner to stay completely hidden inside. Rather than showing fear, Se-yun turns back with a fierce, brave grin. Honestly, she is almost glad they followed her because her boring night just got interesting. She quickly taps into her survival instincts. When you are being followed, here is a golden rule: always head for a crowd. Charging down the steps, she runs toward the busy market. At this hour, the local food street is packed to the brim. Using the chaotic dinner rush to her absolute advantage, she smoothly slips deep into the massive crowd. She effortlessly blends in with shoppers and diners, breaking her stalker's line of sight while the thugs quickly lose her trail. The beanie-wearing guy starts shoving people aside, frantically trying to push his way through the dense crowd. But Se-yun's evasion game is completely unmatched. The exact second they get distracted and look away, she totally vanishes. The two thugs are left standing right in the middle of the busy street in complete shock. Panicking, they look around for any sign of her, while Se-yun slips away into a quiet, secluded alley to hide. Catching her breath, she looks back and feels incredibly relieved to confirm those creepy stalkers are finally gone. Just as Se-yun thinks she is safe, a heavy footstep echoes right in front of her. She freezes in her tracks, shocked to find a shady older man with slicked-back white hair standing on her own apartment steps. Casually puffing on a cigarette, he mockingly complains that he has been waiting forever because the door was locked. Her heart drops. It was a coordinated setup from the start. Horrified, Se-yun backs away, demanding to know who they are and how they found out exactly where she lives. Before she can get answers, the two thugs catch up and block her exit, laughing that the little chick can sure run fast. Realizing she is completely cornered, Se-yun tries to make a desperate break for it. She dashes down the corridor while the hunters laugh maniacally at her futile attempt. These guys are not normal thugs, they are awakeners. Suddenly, a blast of ice magic shoots forward, instantly freezing her foot solid to the cold ground. The sudden momentum sends her crashing face first onto the hard pavement, knocking her backpack far away. Her trapped foot is frozen solid as a glowing, frost-coated hand looms over. The disgusting beanie thug stands above her, drooling like a total psycho. He mockingly asks if she is all tired out, telling her to take a breather and keep him entertained for a bit. Just as the creepy stalker reaches out to grab her, Se-yun screams in pure panic. But before he can even touch her, a massive spectral paw slams directly into his face with devastating force. He goes flying backward through the air and crashes brutally onto the pavement, completely surprising the white-haired leader. A heavy thud rattles the pavement as a colossal, majestic white lion steps directly in front of a trembling Se-yun. Se-yun is stunned, staring up at the glowing beast. You can only imagine her sheer disbelief. Her eyes widen as she realizes this legendary predator is actually little Leo. Meanwhile, the beanie thug screams in absolute horror. He frantically yells to his partner, crying that the client who hired them never mentioned a giant, overpowered monster lion. Leo lets out a deafening, earth-shaking roar that echoes loudly throughout the narrow alley. Completely terrified, the hooded stalker panics. He frantically charges crackling yellow lightning into his fists in a desperate last-ditch effort to defend himself. But holding that massive legendary form is way too exhausting for a baby cub. Right after his big heroic entrance, Leo's energy runs dry, and he immediately transforms, shrinking right back down into his cute, tiny self before tumbling onto his back, completely dizzy. Seeing her fluffy little guardian instantly pass out from total exhaustion, Se-yun panics, immediately scooping her tiny champion up into her arms as she frantically checks to see if he's going to be okay after expending all his energy. Watching the legendary lion instantly shrink back into a helpless, dizzy baby, the white-haired leader looks on with utter disappointment. He scoffs, muttering that he actually thought the beast was going to be something pretty special. With a cold snap of his fingers, he decides to end this game and reveals his own terrifying power. Massive, thorny wooden roots violently rip right through the hard concrete floor, swarming the narrow alleyway as he sneers that the cub couldn't even hold its form for 10 seconds. The giant writhing vines swirl and coil around Se-yun, trapping her in a thorny living cage as she clutches a dazed Leo tightly to her chest. She desperately warns the man to stay back, but her words mean absolutely nothing to a seasoned killer. Coiling the sharp, thorny branches closer and closer to her face, the leader coldly tells her not to waste his time, issuing a terrifying ultimatum. Either she hands over the beast, or he will gladly tear it from her cold corpse. Just as the boss is about to close his trap, watch this Leo's eyes shine, triggering the legendary contract skill, Stellar Warp. Instantly, a massive warp portal bursts open in a flash of bright pink light. Chen teleports directly to Leo's location, delivering a devastating kick straight to the leader's face. The sheer kinetic force of the teleport strike sends the thug flying backward like a rag doll, crashing brutally through the metal trash bins. Chen calmly turns to his sister, apologizing for being late and casually explaining his dungeon business took a bit longer before asking if she and Leo are doing okay. The thug is completely bewildered, wondering where this overpowered monster of a guy suddenly spawned from, while his sister frantically tries to explain the situation, warning him that she has no idea how they tracked her down and that they are all high-level awakeners. But Chen just looks back with a reassuring smile, telling her to take a deep breath because her big brother is here. Meanwhile, the leader slowly emerges from the rubble. Seeing his plan get instantly disrupted, he snaps, absolutely furious at himself for letting his guard down. With thorny roots coiling tightly around his body, he screams out that Chen has just made the absolute biggest mistake of his life, vowing to bring their decapitated heads back to his client for triple the pay. But our boy doesn't even flinch, clenching his fist as golden lightning violently crackles around his knuckles. Chen calmly tells his sister to get behind him and stay there, promising her this is not going to take very long. This takes us back. Back then, he was getting absolutely pulverized in a dusty alleyway by an orange-haired bully, his own cousin, who kept screaming at him to learn his place. The thugs pinned young Chen to the dirty floor, intending to break his spirit, but the bullies did not count on his sister. A young Siyun suddenly charged into the alleyway, wielding a massive metal pipe, ordering the thugs to get their hands off her brother. But the arrogant cousin just laughed it off, mockingly laughing at the tiny girl trying to play the heroic savior. Seeing the gang shift their focus to his sister, a panicked Chen desperately screamed at his cousin not to take a single step toward her. He desperately reminded the bully of his solemn promise never to lay a single hand on Siyun. The smug cousin just laughed it off, admitting he lied, proudly boasting that today he would finally beat some humility into his insufferable family members. But while that ringleader was busy monologuing, he made a pretty fatal mistake. Exploiting the distraction, young Chen spotted a heavy brick on the ground, grabbed it, and violently smashed it directly into the face of the thug holding him down. Young Chen was furious, raising his bloody brick. He charged straight at him. The arrogant orange-haired ringleader's face instantly paled as he watched Chen sprint at him with pure murderous intent. Chen delivered a brutal brick smash directly to his cousin's face, sending him crashing heavily onto the concrete pavement, bleeding and crying. The defeated cousin shrieked in terror, calling Chen a complete and total psychopath. Catching his breath, young Chen dropped his weapon and gently told a trembling Siyun that everything was okay and she did not need to fear. Chen immediately tells Chun to step back and stay safe, calmly promising his little sister that he will wrap this fight up in absolutely no time. They refuse to let their prey escape. The stalkers charge straight ahead, ready to tear him apart. Clutching Leo, Siyun panics and desperately warns him that these three are highly dangerous, unhinged awakeners. Honestly, you can't blame her. She thinks her brother is completely doomed here. A hooded thug rushes in first, charging up a fist, glowing with lightning. He mocks Chen, screaming at him for standing completely still without even trying to defend himself. But before the guy even knows what hit him, Chen throws a single, savage punch that sends the attacker flying headfirst right into a hard concrete wall. Seeing her brother effortlessly crush an elite awakener with one single hand, Siyun's jaw completely drops. Right on cue, the bleeding beanie thug leaps with his glowing dagger. Without even breaking a sweat, Chen cleanly catches his wrist midair and drives a brutal knee strike directly into his face. The brutal force of that strike launches the thug backward, leaving him crumpled up in the alleyway trash bins. Suddenly, a massive, thorny wooden root rips through the alley right toward him, but his reaction speed is unreal. Chen effortlessly tilts his head, dodging the sudden strike. The heavy vine misses completely, smashing violently against the brick wall right behind him. Seeing both of his goons destroyed, the white-haired leader completely loses his mind, screaming that a mere high school kid shouldn't be making a total mockery of them. Unleashing his plant magic, the boss summons a swarm of massive, glowing wooden spikes, furiously vowing to turn Chen into a human pincushion. But Chen remains completely calm. Tapping into his godlike agility, he seamlessly weaves through the incoming storm of razor-sharp vines without taking a single scratch. In one fluid motion, Chen launches himself straight through a gap in the defenses, closing the distance in an instant. The boss is horrified, screaming that this shouldn't be possible. And honestly, watching Chen dominate like this makes Siyun realize something huge about her brother. She almost forgot that her brother didn't just barely scrape by his graduation combat exam. he completely and utterly destroyed everyone. Chen winds up his fist and plants a solid punch straight into the leader's jaw, showing this gang that he is on a completely different level. The sheer force of the impact launches the boss backward like a missile, crashing him violently into the brick wall. Just like that, the white-haired boss is out cold, bleeding and beaten on the pavement, while the beanie thug lies totally unresponsive over in the trash bins. And right beside him, the hooded thug remains slumped against the wall, completely unconscious. The entire threat has been completely dismantled in under a single minute. Casually dusting off his clothes, Chen turns back to his sister, telling her to take Leo and head straight home where it's safe. He reassures her with a quick smile, promising to dump these clowns off at the guard station and meet her back at the apartment before she even knows it. Still a bit dazed by the wild fight, feeling totally safe, Tsun tightly clutches her fluffy cub and happily heads home first. Hours later, under the dim light of a crescent moon, the severely beaten white-haired leader slowly starts to regain consciousness.